Okay. John, do you need one?
You know what? Please, excuse me. Thank you.
That's right.
You know that, right?
You gave me one last week.
What are the requirements? My aunt used to be a notary. She was just nothing. You're
Dave,
just
we're
being
on.
a witness to people signing it. Sometimes I don't like it. I have people at work. First of all, I have to renew everybody's freaking security license across communication. So I'm the notary. I'm at my place of work and I want to say, no, I can't notarize. Yeah, like, I just know extra people. What do you?
Gotta remember how to do that. It's pretty easy.
I had people come to me like at work with mortgages, and it's like, wait a minute, your wife's not here. Oh, don't worry, she'll be. No, it's not.
She'll sign it later.
No, you know, it can be heavy. I've had relatives call me to the door.
Are we being recorded?
Yeah, she just turned it on. Dave,
Dave,
we're
we're
live.
getting recorded.
Oh, we're starting.
Talk into your mic.
I have agenda. There it is.
Talk
Okay,
to
very
test. Testing. Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, March 28th. Town Council Financial Budget 2018.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Councilman Padula,
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico,
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
There is a quorum. Town Manager, overview.
So this is the second workshop evening. We can go down the list. We did the majority of the larger departments last meeting. The bulk of this one will be on a lot of the smaller departments that you see, but also the larger items like general government and revenue will be discussed. So I'll leave it to Council President to decide how he wants to roll through the list.
I want to go through Board of Canvases first because I did speak to Ray. Somebody does have a prior commitment tonight, so just to get them out real quick. Board of Canvases, which is page
9 right there, good.
9.
9.
Thank you.
This says 13.
I must know somebody.
I know the council president.
85 grand.
I don't know, is that Mary Ann's budget? The only reason, do you want me to start, Council President? Or you want
Yes, go ahead, Ray.
The only reason that we're here tonight, because Mary Ann always prepares our budget, is that, if you remember, we were before the election, and we were getting paid $25 a month per meeting. If we had 4 meetings, it was $25. If it was 1 meeting, it was $25. What we did is we came here, we were meeting sometimes 3-4 times a month during the election, and we came before the council vice president, D'Amico wasn't on, neither were you two, but we came and asked him, we said, this is, getting ridiculous here, all the work we have to do, and the council agreed to pay us $25 per month, per meeting. No, per month, per meeting. In other words, if we had 3 meetings a month, it was $25 times 3. But that was only, the resolution I think was only till after the election, and then it would go back to the regular situation. January 1st? Okay, so it reverted back in January 1st to $25. We've only been meeting, as a matter of fact, we met January, February, not in March, so that's all right. But what happens is when we get a situation where there's a problem, Councilman Padula knows what happened with him with 2 hearings. Councilman Messier knows what happens when we have to go to the Board of Elections and everything. We're not getting paid for any of this. We did this year because it was during that election process that we had come before you, and then you said, okay, we'll pay you every meeting. But now we're back to $25 per month, period. If you meet 17 times, it's $25 per month. So obviously we would be looking to get paid for every meeting $25.
If I remember correctly, and Dave, me and you were here. We agreed that they were putting in a lot of time, especially election time, primary time. If I remember correctly, we said, no matter what, that every time you met, as long as it was on an emergency basis, not on a regular basis where you guys were going to make 3 or 4 meetings a month when you only needed 1.
Right.
And we said that we would address that accordingly. correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, we did put a stipulation till January 1 because we wanted to put it in this year's budget to discuss it.
And then we were gonna,
Because we did it for Board of Tenant Affairs, where they actually get $25 per meeting, based upon, but then we'd also keep an eye on it. If they're gonna stop meeting and make this a part-time job, then we need to discuss that.
that's what was discussed.
Personally, I don't think this will happen with the Board of Canvassers. So I believe $25 a meeting, especially when it gets hectic during election time. I agree with that. Some of this that I'm looking at here, I mean, that looks like Nancy put together, Nancy LeBlanc. I mean, I'm looking at Coventry. I mean, $1,000 bi-weekly. There's no way that's happening.
That was done, Council President, just to show what the
I
surrounding
understand.
towns of the same size is doing.
Yeah.
She didn't do Warwick, because Warwick is like unbelievably.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I mean, they got 18 polls. What do we have? 4 to 6?
No, we have 10.
We have 10.
2 per council.
Well, 12, well, 10.
Well, if
We
it's a
had
presidential election,
Right.
we're here.
Yeah.
But for,
And count this one, yeah.
yeah,
5 wards each.
half,
have
two.
half of Coventry.
so we would have 10, except in presidential election years.
Yeah,
we
but
have 11.
going forward, because it's staggered, I know in 2 years from now, there's only going to be three councilmen up. Wards 4 and 5
There'll still be
on up.
something going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you still have to open the polls.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
Okay.
We gotta certify the polling books and, certify the polling places.
But again, would you have, for instance, 4 and 5, that'd be 4 less polls per election, or would they have to be?
You're
open
still
to
gonna
They have
have
to be open to
representative
reps.
districts,
primaries? I understand.
Rep
Primary, not
districts,
only that,
Senate
the reps,
districts.
the senators.
Yeah, and I don't-
Still gonna have to open them
And I
up.
don't think school committee run on the same cycle.
Yeah,
They
we-
run on
yeah.
the same cycle.
We synced them up with you guys.
For example, this year coming up, the next election, you're gonna have the federal senator, White House, and that means every poll will have to be, and the 2
Right,
reps.
right, okay, all right.
Yeah.
You always, every 2 years, you got the 2 reps and you got the senator.
Yeah, not every 2
years.
years, it's two, and
No,
then none.
regular state
Oh, the
senator.
senator, yes, every 2
So
years.
you still gotta open up the polls.
Yes.
All the polls will be open again.
Yes.
So my question here, in this budget line item, where is your actual
Board payroll.
pay? What is it?
Board payroll.
Dave, the
2,500.
justification for the departments I put together is all behind town council for all 5 departments. So if you wanna look at the justification for Board of Canvassers on some of it.
I'm looking at the payroll for,
The board payroll,
yeah.
25, 4, 5 and down.
That's what we budgeted.
But again,
and that was unusual for the 216 election because we had a lot of difficulties presented us.
there's 5 of you on that board, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
So that's 125 a meeting.
that's correct.
So,
That's 1,500 a year if you have 1 meeting a month.
yeah, but then what about, are there extra meetings kind of built into this, is what I'm asking?
All around any election and the referendum, there's always 3 or 4 or even more as needed meetings in the month to 2 months before. There's
This year, there's
meetings.
not much going on, so it'll probably be just the regular $25.
We have the referenda, but that doesn't generate a lot of meetings. We might have to have 2 meetings before the referenda, that's it. One after because of, to certify the election.
So does $2,500 cover for the year of
Well, no,
2000?
it's also, I'm sorry, election and other expenses also covers the actual election. So the board payroll is for their regular meetings, and then election and other
So
expenses.
that's the question I'm asking. There's $2,500 in this budget. Will that cover the entire year if they have extra meetings?
Does that cover
goes
our-
down to election expenses. So if you look at the justification, as Marianne was stating, under town clerk, if you go to the town clerk tab,
The tab before it.
she has it's just the previous tab. She has her justification sheets that cover all of the budgets that she deals with. So Board of Canvassers is the bottom of her first page, and she kind of walks through what she used to come up with those numbers.
I put in for 5 meetings around the referendum just to cover. If they don't need them, they don't get paid, but if they need them, I figured 5 was the last referendum. I went back to the last one.
All right.
Remember, I forgot to mention, we also get paid election day, like the referenda, we're there all day, the election, we get paid $250
That's
the
in
whole
there
day.
too. That's in there.
Okay. That's why Nancy took it upon herself. She wrote you the letter because she couldn't be here today. She's on vacation. And that the other sheet that Council President is looking at right now, what Coventry and then pay for election days and stuff. Because remember, our election day starts roughly around 6, and it goes to, we got to stay here and wait for all those results to come in. So it's a long day, and we get $250.
Hey, it's long on the candidates too, you know.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, and sometimes
If you wins by like 10,000 votes, yeah, it's really long.
yeah, and sometimes the board of canvassers has to go down to some of the polling places of the candidates and straighten out their opponents. You know.
It's the ones that win by 5 votes and sit there and say, what's going on here?
Oh, that was tough, right, Councilman Messi? That was.
Tougher on my opponent, I'm guessing.
We had to make into Providence.
Oh yeah, we had to go to Providence twice, I think, for council.
I wonder what that was for.
And twice, yeah, for you too.
Oh, be prepared. It happens every 2 years, so just a formality. Just a formality.
Councilman Padula, it cost us a lot of meetings.
To do like the Angelo line.
That's it.
Just
Put
an
it
Angelo
right
line.
in there.
An Angelo line on the budget. I'm fine with it. And I agree, $25 a meeting. We did it for Boda. And if it becomes excessive, we can
Yeah.
talk about that later.
I don't have a problem, but they're not going to be excessive.
No, as a matter of fact, as I said, we didn't even meet in
Bert
March.
tries to show up to town sergeant meetings. He's trying to start his own town sergeant committee, just to get paid.
Don't worry, we're just going to raise Bert's taxes. He'll pay for it in a long run.
We have 5 tax increases. Can I have your addresses, please? No, we're all set. Thank you, Ray. Again, I believe in $25 a meeting.
Now, you guys are all paid, right? You're not in the food stamp line, are you, JP? Did you get paid? You're not
No,
in that
the-
computer glitch.
She ran out of money, right, Mary Ann? And
I did run out of money this.
And JP didn't get paid. I told him from now on, make me
One
be the
meeting.
first one not to get
I'll
paid.
take care of it in
JP.
I've already talked to John. I could switch money around with my departments that I run their budgets in the last quarter. So as of April, he'll get the $25. I promise.
Yeah, just get it squared away.
I have it on my
If we're
account.
really scratching that hard for $25, we got issues.
We can't move money around until the last quarter.
There were a lot of meetings, as he mentions.
Oh, she's running a tight ship, I guess, eh?
We literally don't have
$25.
any money in the budget for the canvas board right now. None. But he'll get paid.
I have one more issue. On November the 9th, which was the day after the election, the board was summoned here to treat provisional ballots. There was only 17 ready. And so we, with our former clerk, Nicole LeBoy, and so, but we were here, and it wasn't much we could do. And so obviously, after about a half an hour or so, we were gone. In her wisdom, I'm not meaning to pick on you, Mary Ann, but according to Nicole LeBoy, we're not paid for that meeting because according to the clerk, it was an extension of the election. So say,
According
going
to the
your
Board of
point about
Elections.
$25. We're all here on November 9th to certify those provisional ballots, and now we can't get paid because she says it's an extension of the election. So I said, I disagreed, and I said, I'll bring it before the council.
I disagree, too. It should be just another meeting. You had to come here a different
Of
day
course,
for a different
yeah.
time.
It's not our,
Did you
it's
have
not your problem that it wasn't ready
No,
for you.
no.
That's our problem.
Yeah.
That's the Board of Elections said, what is unfinished the night before the election, it carries over as if it's still election day. I have no problem paying them if you say fine.
It's
Yeah.
a different day.
Oh, I don't mean to pick on you, Mary. I'm
No,
just saying
no.
that, that was your point.
I just want you to know
And
I
my
don't
point, I
make this stuff up.
disagreed, and so
Yeah.
therefore
Okay.
I said I'd bring it before the council.
Yeah, Mary, that's above Mary Ann's pay grade, so we just,
I don't make this stuff up.
I got no,
Wrong.
All right, so it will, November 9th will be
We're
paid.
going to kill each other over.
yeah.
I have one other
Bert, you're not getting any more from us tonight.
Well, his budget's coming up.
Yeah, we're
The members of the board, the 4 of us, not Ray, he has nothing to do with it. We thought that he should be paid a little bit more than what the regular board does because he does a lot more work. Maybe he should get $35 or $30.
I'm not bringing that up tonight. Something you might want to consider, as Councilman
He
Padula
does
said.
work damn hard.
As Councilman Padula said, he's always told me that I save the town money by sitting as an attorney on this board.
Without a doubt.
I don't have Solicitor Williamson come to our meetings. I don't need him, except when we had the hearing. For
You figure
example,
every time we call an attorney, it's $150 an hour. Whether it's an opinion, I mean, I seen some sheets where 3 words, $150. So, I mean, just figuring the money, I understand what he's saying, but we're gonna have to discuss it where the chairman gets more, because now you're gonna have zoning, planning, that are gonna, but they're not doing more work than the other people, where Ray is putting in his expertise as being an attorney, and we're killing like 3 birds with 1 stone. So I agree that the chairman should get a few bucks more for, it's not gonna be much, but at least, you know, we won't put him in a line with with bread and jam.
Maybe he's worth it.
Personally, pick a dollar amount.
well, this would be something, I believe there's another meeting a week from today. It's just something to
That's a
think
public
about.
hearing, actually.
It's something to think about. And I know one of the things that Councilman Padula is alluding to, and I know Mary Ann knows this, when the Board of Elections said that we were supposed to be there one night and we weren't, and then I went there and I said, hey, wait a minute, and they actually apologized to this board and said, nope, that's right, you didn't have to be here, but we do want a court order, an order from your board saying what you did, you know, facts, decision, and everything else. I did that, not Mr. Williamson, I did it, and I did it with the $25 meeting fee. I prepared the court order, and I prepared, they also filed an open meetings complaint against us, Mr. Stranahan and them, and I did the memo to the Attorney General. We weren't fined or nothing, but I did that memo, and I didn't get, that's what I think Rick was talking about.
Yeah,
I
didn't get
for
paid,
it.
that would've cost us money from the Board of Canvassers. A lot of money.
Even if we paid him $40 a meeting, he's well worth it, believe me.
Well,
Well,
I
that's
think
something
the
you guys
chairman,
should think
I think
about.
the chairman should get more with the expertise that he has, but that's my opinion. I don't know how you wanna handle it.
I'm just gonna put it in the budget. Make sure it's budgeted. I don't care either way. It could be $40, could be 50, it could be 100. I don't know what the council wants to do.
Want to address this?
Oh, yeah. One more thing, the Board of Elections gave us more duties, especially with the new voting machines, you know how the write-ins,
Yep.
write down the ballot, and you take it out.
Do they
We
give
got
us
to
any
come
money?
The next day.
Board of
and
Elections,
transfer
state,
those to hard
Oh,
copies.
yeah.
And at the manor, they paid more because some of them you were putting through twice, right? Is that?
No, but I mean, you
the
just.
state don't give us any more money, right?
No, I don't care.
write down
Just
the
more
results,
mandates.
I mean, it's just another continuation of something. That's
What's
gonna
that?
take more time than another.
Yeah, you were all over the place
Huh?
that day. It was you guys did a great job.
The next
Oh, yeah.
morning,
Cost us big time.
we get in our cars and go to each polling place and have to check each voting machine.
Like 20
to make sure that the boxes are empty. That's something that we never had to do before.
You guys had your hands full.
So I mean, it's just an additional duty the next day, the day after the election.
It happens only every 2 years.
Well, we're supposed to do the write-ins that night, but the opposers said continue it on to the next day, and that's fine. But as far as checking the ballot boxes, you have to do that. That's.
I
As
mean,
far
what-
as I'm concerned, discuss it amongst yourself and.
Can
whatever you
can I
decide.
ask a question? And,
Sure.
and in no way am I, well, of put it out there. So, and I'm not, you know, in terms of your worth, in terms of your position as chairman, I'm not questioning that at all. But if we were to pay the chairman of the board, put Ray out of the picture, if we were to pay the chairman of the board more, I think we should have a specific amount, especially if they have more duties. Because my question, I guess, is, or my concern is, if Ray were to leave, he's taking, you know, the attorney out of the picture.
Then you'd have to.
So
you'd have
can
to
we
adjust.
go back and adjust,
We can
or
readjust.
are we?
Yes.
Okay.
It's nothing's in stone. The reason why I would go for giving him, and we're only talking, if
Oh,
you
it's
give
pitiful,
$50
I
a
know.
meeting, you're talking $250, $300 a year, when one writ that he did would have cost us $2,000 or $3,000.
And I don't dispute that for a minute. I get that.
So-
I'm just saying, like, if we put that in place, if Ray
Yeah,
were to
we'll take
leave,
it out because
then we're
they
able
don't
to take
have
it
his
out.
attorney's knowledge,
Okay,
the attorney's
we can take it out.
skills, or, you know, I mean, do we get someone in there that we have to get an attorney every time they need a legal opinion? And believe me, there was a lot of times when we had to get the attorney for legal opinions, and Mary Ann, you can attest to this, where it cost us a lot of money to get opinions, and he does them right there in-house. So, I mean, you're saving 5,000 and you're giving up 300. I mean,
I totally agree with you.
I think
I'm
it's a
just saying,
decision.
if,
I mean, it
if he
doesn't-
left the position.
Guys, I've said pick a dollar.
I'd
amount.
say give
We
him,
can
give
keep
him
talking
double.
all night.
Give him 50.
I say 50.
Give him, I'll second that.
All in favor for $50?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Ray, you got a raise.
Thank you very much.
Don't go to the casino and spend all that money at
Yes.
once.
That he wanted to raise, it was the board members that thought that he should have a raise.
Yeah, sure. I see him give you $5 a piece to open your mouth.
Thank you.
Money well spent.
Have a good
Is there
night.
any other
You told me you're gonna be only 2 minutes tonight, Ray. That's why I
Yeah,
wanted to
I
go
know.
first.
Oh, excuse me. Have a good night.
Put some on you.
Are we able to use the, because that's gonna be at our next meeting, are we able to use the Civic Center for the all-day referendum?
Yes, it's
our
already
building
been
now.
booked.
It's
all
our
set.
building.
It's all
It's our
set.
building now.
Well, I know that.
It was always our
There's
building.
something going on in there and you
No,
can't do that.
it's already reserved.
Thank you.
We work well with the new person up there.
Marion's got the,
It's a big waste to say.
look at her justification. I think it's 5 for,
It's in the town clerk section.
That's 5 meetings. Just trying to see what the value is.
There's 12 meetings average, so that's 400. And then any excess,
And 5 around the election,
So
so.
how much do you want to increase the budget by?
I'd say 600 to be on the safe side.
Yeah, but no, you also got election and other expenses where we got that 7,500 in there that we're not even gonna use,
All
so.
the elections,
I mean, I
time
wouldn't even
meetings are
worry
paid out
about
of
upping
election
this budget,
expenses.
Dave. I wouldn't even worry about upping this budget this year because it's
Only
not
that
an
right.
election year.
Yeah, I'd keep it where it is.
I'd keep it just where it is because in an election year, you got 35 grand.
Well, Angela, I just want, maybe we have to move it from board payroll because the issue is, I don't need to be embarrassed here to say a town employee, somebody who works for the town didn't get paid $25 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
How about if we move
crazy.
500 from the election expense line item to
Yeah.
the board payroll?
Yeah, that's what to do.
That sound reasonable?
Even if you moved 1,000, just so you got it.
Just, yeah, move it from expenses to payroll, so that way there we know
Right,
there's payroll money in there.
$1,000.
We haven't spent that much.
No, I know, we're gonna, but we just gotta keep it in there and make sure
What happens if we don't spend it, then, I mean,
We just bring it over.
it goes into general fund next year.
I think he wants an actual number. You heard 500, you heard
I heard 500 and I heard 1,000.
I'd put the
I said
1,000.
6.
Well, what do you wanna do? You wanna stay?
Go 1,000, make it easy.
Okay.
It's not going anywhere. It's just shifting it.
And where's the 1,000 coming from?
The election.
Election, other expenses.
All right,
And everything else will remain the same?
yeah. Senior center.
what they,
Wait a minute, Bert.
26. Page 26.
Senior center. Manny.
How's it going?
First, I'd like to say welcome back to John Semino. And I was going to do a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation, but Fred said
So how
no.
much do you wanna lose in your funding?
Quickly, for those of you that don't know, just to go over a few of the services, I am Manny Murray, President and CEO of the West Warwick Senior Center. I'm also the Director of Human Services for the town of West Warwick. For the senior services, we offer daily meal sites, and these are in your brochures. So it's a list of all the senior services and all the human services that we provide. And then again, quickly, I just want to go over a few bullet points on numbers, just to give you an idea of the type of work we try to do every day. And this is from January 1st to December 31st of last year. For emergency food, and these are numbers of families, we serve 2,176 families. At Thanksgiving time, we helped 487 families with a Thanksgiving basket and a turkey or a voucher for a turkey. At Christmas, we helped 520 families with a food basket, a voucher for a turkey, and also through Christmases, it was over 1,200 children gave them toys for Christmas. Information and referral, that's when somebody calls into the center or walks into the center looking for some type of help or referral. We took approximately 13,000 phone calls over the course of a year. So that's like 50 calls a day. We provide free rides, and I'm proud of this. We provide free rides to and from the senior center for seniors of West Warwick, whether you're coming from the housing or whether you're coming from your home. And that's to come to the meal site, maybe to come to a class. And for that year, we provided 5,598 rides. And those are duplicated numbers, obviously. And for senior meals, we provided 6,341 senior meals, which are run Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock. And the meal site is for seniors and disabled.
Just in terms of the budget itself, Manny's asking for level funding from last year.
Easy enough. Any questions for Manny?
I just want to thank Manny. I mean, I call him a dozen times a year for constituents that don't have oil. Manny's never ever, and I'll say the same thing every year during budget time, Manny's never said, Angelo, I can't help this one. He helps everyone, different families in my district that are proud and they don't want to go on food stamps or they don't want any help, and you know they're really struggling. The kids have nothing, and believe me when I tell you, it brings tears to your eyes. And I call Manny, and Manny goes, Angela, how many kids? How old are they? Matter of fact, he took a couple on a shopping spree. One of them even met Cooley, right? They gave him
Coach Cooley, yeah.
Coach Cooley bought him a bicycle. So I mean, Manny, I thank you. I know the constituents thank you, and you do a great job up there.
Thank you, Angel.
Yeah, Christmas time, I went down there, we did the video, you guys did an awesome job. And then we happened to run into each other at Target when you were taking some of your families out for the shopping spree. It was pretty awesome.
And that's the thing, everybody says West Warwick Senior Center. It's actually, I think it's more of a community center than a senior center.
Yeah.
Because you help many families, doesn't mean they have to be a senior citizen. So, and again, every time I've called you, Manny, with anything, you've taken care of it for unfortunate families or whatever. And I always recommend the senior center to come see you if somebody's having issues. So, you know, like I said, I think it's a huge asset to the town, and I think that's why one of the reasons why we talked about purchasing the building, and that's why we did that last year. And hopefully that's helping out with your budgets.
Definitely.
Even opening up the senior center, we had the constituents meeting, you came out there and opened it for us. Barbara Tabak had the Earth Day meeting, you came down there after hours and opened it up for us.
So
that's what it's there for.
I'm fine with it. Thank you. Any questions for Manny? Thank you, Manny.
Thank you, Manny.
Thank you, Manny.
Dave, if you wouldn't mind if we could do legal next.
Whatever you want.
Patrick O'Neill's in the audience. And
Wow. Finally see him. 10.
That's
Where the hell is it?
page 10.
What are we doing here? What is this? Increase.
So we put for both the department and for the manager budget an increase of $9,000. That was based upon a conversation and request, which you have the letter before you from Patrick O'Neill, and a conversation with the chief as well of the workload that's being done. He felt it was prudent to look into this increase. So I've just provided Pat's here to answer any questions you might have about it, and that's really the only change we have from last year in the legal budget.
Good evening, Pat. How you doing?
Good evening, Mr. President.
And this line item is the district court line item, by the way, for those of you that, on the budget. Sorry. If you want to just give a quick overview.
Sure. Those council members that I've met before, my name is Patrick O'Neill. I've been the town prosecutor for the last 10 years in the town of West Warwick. I came in 2006, maybe started 2007, I'm sorry. And the flat fee I've received since 2007 has been $15,000. It's been a flat fee across the board since 2007. Knowing at the time that I entered into the position that I was one of the lowest paid town prosecutors, it wasn't an issue for me because I was just getting my foot in the door. Kind of shame on me over the years not coming before you and asking for a raise. I kind of followed the chain of command and talked to Solicitor Williamson about it. Obviously, the town was having some major budget issues, so I didn't think it was prudent to come before the council to ask for more money. In the last couple years, I've been, in court every Wednesday. You talk to other solicitors and what, their compensation is in their towns. I've kind of laid it out for you in that letter. I know you get a lot of information, so I'll break it down. As far as on any Wednesday in the courtroom I'm assigned to, I'm always the last prosecutor there. So if you look at our stack of files, I have anywhere from 20 to 30 files a week. Gloucester, as you can see, there gets much more compensation. They have an average of 4 to 5 cases a week, where I have 20 to 30. West Greenwich, maybe we'll have 2 or 3 files a week. And without a doubt, we're the busiest department on that particular day. Down the hall, Warwick and Cranston obviously have a pretty heavy caseload. I'd liken it to like Coventry has a similar type of caseload, but not as many cases. As you can see, their compensation that they're paying their solicitors an hourly rate. Obviously, whatever increase that the council saw fit, I would be amenable to if the council thought for some reason that the hourly rate would be a better way. I would be amenable to that. However, the numbers as they lay out, I will tell you that North Providence, for example, pays at $125 an hour. I will shoot over 30,000 very, very easily with that. It's not just court time too, it's preparing the files over the weekend. I spend a lot of time on the phone with complaining witnesses before we get to court to try to speed up the process for cases so they're not lingering around too long. Routinely, the department will reach out to me on cases they haven't charged yet for my opinion. Defense lawyers are calling me constantly for this. So the hours start to add up. I really, really enjoy the job. The judges I get along with, the new colonel and I have worked together when he was in prosecution. We have a good working relationship. So I do think that the increase, although in relation to the $15,000 is kind of a bigger number, asking for $9,000, it is still well below what the average of the town solicitors are making in court. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you and appreciate any consideration you give to that.
Well, weren't we supposed to have an executive session on our prosecutor in municipal with bids and stuff? Wasn't that?
We did talk about it. Was prior to this election. It was something we talked about a long time ago. Looks like, Fred, you have it built in already from last year to this year?
Correct. This is just the justification piece. I just want everybody to be aware of it, and Patrick offered to come and give his explanation as well that he gave to me.
Where did the money come from, Fred?
We just increased the budget line item, so it's has to be other parts of the budget that we have to, and that's something
So
we can
we're
look at.
increasing.
That and we can look at that too. That's something that we could potentially look at pulling some from some of the other categories. That's a possibility.
Going down this list, just out of curiosity, why is probate down to 0?
Now it has its own department.
It has its own department.
Yep.
It's in the clerk's department.
Part of the clerks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Multiple departments.
All right. I just wanted to see that.
That's basically the probate clerk judge, who now is in the probate department.
Yeah, we could probably pull it from outside services, or at least a portion of it, because that seems to be an underspent line item that we have fairly regularly. It was really high in 14 because of the work that we did with the negotiations.
Now, if I remember correctly, Patrick, going back almost 10 years ago.
Yep.
I know we appointed you. The reason why we appointed you at the time, if I remember correctly, Solicitor Williamson was a state representative, and he was highly recommended that he would stop prosecuting for the town of West Warwick while he's in that office. Was that with you or before you?
I don't think that had anything
Who,
to do.
well, where was Solicitor Williamson? Because he was our prosecutor at one
We
time.
had,
Who was before?
Brenda Kachiri.
Brenda
was,
Kachiri.
Brenda
probably.
Kacheri came in for Solicitor Williamson,
Right.
and then you came in because the council felt at that time we wanted to move to a different prosecuting officer at the time. Attorney. With that being said, do we go back to our solicitor as prosecutor, or do we go this way? You know, it's something you gotta look at.
That's something we all gotta discuss before we even make a decision.
So, I think we keep it at 15 right now, and then we can talk about it and go from there. And then we can see where we stand.
Well, none of this is in stone anyway.
That's what I mean.
So,
So if you
we're gonna
wanna
have a public
bump it up
hearing.
to 24, it's fine, but it's, I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page here,
That makes sense.
you know?
I understand. Any consideration you give, I appreciate it. If it stayed at 15.
No, we understand,
Yeah.
we understand where
Sure,
you're coming from.
absolutely. If it stayed at 15, I'm still gonna continue to ask to work for the town. I enjoy the job. I have a good working relationship with the colonel, so it's not like I'm going anywhere. I just think that the numbers, as talking to other town prosecutors, that would be in line with the other towns.
No, we understand, so, we're gonna give it further thought.
Sure,
and go
I appreciate it. Any other questions for me?
from- I think the chief wants to speak.
Okay. All right.
As long as I've been around, I don't recall the solicitor doing both ends. It's maybe years back, but it hasn't happened since I can remember. Just speaking on behalf of, everything Patrick pretty much laid out for you. You know, you mentioned Warwick and Cranston. They may have double the workload, but they also have 2 prosecutors in court every week. He's there, as he says, Wednesdays. We've been talking about bringing this forward for at least the last 3 or 4 years. I've been
Yeah, I
upstairs
know.
for 5 years. And,
Yeah.
he is extremely underpaid. We constantly are forwarding his office, him, victims, witnesses, as well as sending reports for review on charging and what have you. So it is, he does certainly carry his weight in the courtroom for us and does do a very good job and is deserving. I know it's difficult at this time right now, but he is certainly deserving of an increase.
Stop it, Freddie.
He keeps texting us all, he thinks we're making friends with him.
No, he's playing music back there. Thank you, chief. Now going down this list. Labor specialist, I imagine that's for negotiations that's going on right now.
Labor specialist includes all the grievances and things like that, arbitrations we have to deal with on a regular basis. That's the bulk of it.
District court,
That's what Patrick is. That's what we just discussed.
15.
to 24, and planning and zoning would be Al.
Yeah.
Yep, Al Di Fiore. Yep.
Administration, that would be
Solicitor.
just him,
Yep.
Yes.
Who?
The solicitor.
solicitor.
Solicitor. Yep.
Everything's up to date. I'm looking at the actual through 12/31.
12/31. It's up to date to then. Yeah. Oh, in terms of the billing. No.
But it's up to date to 12/31.
The bills we had to 12/31. Yeah.
Bills that were in our possession for probably about 3 to 4 months. So it's about 3 to 4 months backlog.
I think we need to put an ordinance in place. If you don't bill us within 30 days, you don't
You
get
get
paid.
paid. Well, we said that a long time ago. We're gonna know we're spending, there's no
My
reason.
opinion.
I know when I send my bills to my customers, I'm not waiting 6 months to send them. So,
So-
we get enough heat.
For
with,
the administration expense, that's Solicitor Williamson, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Correct.
Is that stipend, hourly rate?
Hourly,
Hourly.
150 per hour. It was actually 125 at one
125.
time.
I think.
Actually, it's 125
It's
an hour.
125.
He was 105 an hour. We bumped it up to 125.
125. Now, for just so I understand this, so 125 an hour. And this could be any of the attorneys. You give them a call, you spend 10 minutes on the phone with them.
You get paid.
It's a portion. Is it a portion of that
It's a
hour, or
portion
is
of
it
the hour.
that 1 hour?
It's a portion of the hour.
Call them 5 times in 1 week, you get 4 hours.
It's per minute base, well, not per minute, but it's the hourly rate broken down by the amount of time.
But you gotta
Okay,
understand also,
You gotta, I just wanna point out a few things, and Patrick O'Neill hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of times that you do make that phone call or whatever, they're doing extra work, and they're not billing.
Right, I understand.
I mean, I've called Solicitor Williamson on a weekend just to talk to him, and I know he hasn't billed us for that. But, and like Patrick said, he'll do work on weekends, and, you know, he's really not billing us because he's a flat rate. But,
Right.
you know, that's what you gotta look at. Do I think they bill us for every second of the day? Absolutely not. But, because you look at Situate, and I'll let everybody know, there's a lot of people from here are now council people in Situate, and their legal bills on their normal, their normal attorney is over $700,000 a year, and it's a flat rate. It's but $700,000. What's going on up in Situate? Cow tipping? I mean, that's about it. I don't know what their attorney out there could be doing.
10,000 constituents in
Yeah,
Situate.
10,000 people, and their attorney's making $700,000 a year. You know, so they're working on that now. That's their business. But just comparing other towns, we went through this before about 6-8 years ago. We started comparing legal fees to towns, and our worst year was obviously the Carullo action year, where the school department and the town were back and forth in court. And I think that was $700,000 at the time, where on average, if you take a look at what truly goes on here, I mean, think about it. You're here at a council meeting, and we drag it out, and he's getting paid. You know, he's the only one getting paid by the hour up there. So, just the only thing I'm concerned with, and we got to have a conversation with him as a council, is make sure our bills are up to date. I mean, that's plain and simple. I mean, if you don't, I mean, we'll talk about that later.
And one other question: Does Al DiFiore work the same way?
Hourly, yes.
Hourly, yes.
And what is his? Do you know offhand?
I don't know
You think
offhand.
he's around the same rate?
Yeah, I don't think he ever got a raise in all
No,
the
I
years
think he's
that
a
I've been
little
on
lower.
planning board.
He's probably like the 105 rate or
Yeah,
something
he's probably
like that.
way down there. But he's doing zoning, planning, making ordinances.
Ordinances, things like that.
He does all the ordinances.
Flies back and forth.
And we do get detailed bills from both of them, broken down by the time spent, you know, the work that they did complete.
What they
as well
did
as
it
the
on.
extension of the hours.
Okay.
So we get the full detail.
And his bills come in like clockwork.
Oh yeah, he's very,
Would he make a good solicitor?
I'm saying his bills come in like clockwork.
I think he's happy right where he is with
Yeah, I think
zoning
he
and
is too.
planning.
Yeah.
Does a good
He
job.
likes to golf.
He does this great, yeah, he don't wanna be tied up.
And again, we'll talk about that 9,000. I personally think it could be well deserved, but we just have to go on and talk about that later on.
Okay.
Any questions on this? None? Let's move on.
Where are we going?
Go to housing board or building.
Housing? We going housing?
Housing's 27, page 27.
Now, what is this?
We just went level funded. It's for tenant affairs board, and then
Tenant affairs?
payroll.
Yeah, that's just all cut and dry, right?
Yep.
Voter. Any questions on that? All set. Let's move on to building.
24.
Welcome to your first budget meeting
Thank you.
in West Warwick, anyway.
Good evening.
So just remind from the conversation we had last time about the we was the tax assessor's office. I talked about how there's now the split position. We took the floater and we split them between two departments. Building is the other department, so tax assessor and building department. So it's half and half. So the half of the payroll and all the payroll expenses for that individual now come here instead of my budget. So that was just a shift from one budget to two departments where they're now focused. And that's really all I wanted to bring up with that item. So I'll leave it up to George now to give you the details of the rest.
Good evening. What would you like me to begin with?
Well, does anybody have any questions on the budget, really? Personally, I think your department's gonna get very busy within the next year, if it's not
Extremely.
already doing so.
Yeah, it's,
I know the projects that, just in my ward, that are coming forward, 2 retail stores.
yeah, that condo development,
Condo development, plus, you got the condo development down on North Pleasant Street,
Lippit.
plus the Lippit Mill Apartments. So I know having
Yeah.
a one-man crew and Joe Argenti, yourself, PM, do a very good job there.
You'll-
So
what do you-
many-
how do you
You'll notice that we also, sorry, one second, Jason. We also increased Joe from the part-time to the full 35 hours because he has agreed to, he's taking the test or took the test.
He's in the process
He's in-
of applying to take the test.
He's applying to
become
take,
Inspector
to
One.
become an actual building inspector so that we can actually utilize him on those, because right now he fills in, but he needs the certification. So he's going through the process now. He's taking the classes. He's doing everything. He knows the stuff.
The Energizer Bunny.
And he's actually agreed to do this, so he's gonna, which really helps us out a lot. So
Be a big
so he's
asset.
gonna be able to go out and do inspections, and so then we'll have 2 people that can, do the type of inspections that you just were referring to, Dave.
If I'm correct, he's also helping other departments also.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll continue to do that. Yeah.
I know he's helping the DPW with street lighting and whatever else. I know he goes over and assists the fire department when needed. I was there the other day. I think he was.
Yeah, he's a jack of all trades.
He's definitely well.
He goes look 5 o'clock in the morning, all the street lights
This,
out.
yeah,
So-
this will more
Not
than
anymore. You don't have to. So.
No, not no more.
this will more than be made up for in the building permit fees that we receive. Just again, these are the projects that are in the queue now. We know we're going to have the staff to
Fred,
pull
where's
this
the-
off, so that's why we.
Where's the 5,000 you found less than George did?
So under salaries, general wages,
Where was
George also requested an increase in the salaries for slight increase for both Pam and Shayna, and I just told him
Shayna.
that it's not prudent at this time, and we're gonna. My recommendation is to hold off, and we've been pretty consistent with that. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
Joe is a different situation. We're not increasing his salary; we're increasing his hours. So we're actually moving him to full time. That's a very different scenario, and we need. It saves us from having to hire a whole other person. So it actually saves us money. But with respect to salary increases for individuals, we've been pretty consistent to not do that.
I'm not sure Joe uses any of the benefits.
None.
He
I
doesn't.
don't think because I think he
None.
gets it elsewhere.
Like I said, he's going to save his money.
Gets it from the
When
grid.
the see-click fix comes into play, did we ever ask them like how that'll affect like getting more calls, especially for more complaints, as far as that goes, like more activity?
Initially, it'll be more, but I think ultimately it's going to.
Average out to be the same.
Yeah.
It'll just kind of funnel into
Yeah.
that outlet
You'll get
instead.
you'll get a peak, but then you'll get it'll level off. But what it does more than anything is it allows the tracking and accountability
Yeah.
of the complaints, and that's where the power is. And then the reporting aspect of it, we'll be able to
Go back and see.
look at create these hot maps of where the activity is for certain things, and that way, I was just talking to George the other day. It's impossible for them to be everywhere and see all the mattresses on the sidewalks and all those things. You can't be everywhere. But with this application, we can zero into those areas which are the areas that are the frequent flyers where we're getting the
Utilizing-
complaints, and then he can focus
utilizing the time better
his
rather
personnel to
than
say,
aimlessly kind of looking
all right,
and kind of know some
hit
spots.
this
to go.
area 3 times a week, the other areas as you can, that kind of thing.
What's gonna help a lot is our new part-time girl, we're training her into doing violation letters. So we're gonna try and keep Shayna out in the field, basically more hours. She's spent a lot of time doing the violation letters, so this will help a lot with our violations. We got a lot of, as you all know, we got a lot of different various violations going on. We're trying to, work different areas at any given time, so.
Yeah, I see a lot of stickers out there like this
Yeah.
past week, especially as the weather gets warmer for the
Yeah, it should be a good time for violations.
Yes.
Well, I got to say, George, I know you're fairly new, and you're always on the go, and I hear your name a lot throughout the town as far as you're finding a lot of things that a lot of people didn't find before. per se, including garages that have been.
Boy, you're
erected
opening
or
your
whatever.
eyes. They walked around with blindfolds.
I've
And,
been doing this a long time.
You know, and actually, other council members have called me and said, "Hey, George found it. George with this and that." I can't knock you for doing your job, and you know, sometimes we get that call, and I know it's a tough position because not always are you there with good news for the person. The building official's position's always been that way, because you're there to enforce the laws of the building and zoning and whatever else. So, like I said, I know your name has come up a lot, especially with finding things and getting. We never had. I could say, the last few years, I didn't hear a building official get out and tag somebody's house for something or trash in it or whatever. You're doing that, so keep doing what you're doing in your group, and hopefully we keep moving forward. So
Thank you for your support, appreciate that.
The only other item I'll bring to your attention is the maintenance expense that's for the building. We increased that in conversation with George up by 20,000. We've talked about, for example, this floor that we're all sitting on now, the carpet. There's several.
you can get it done real cheap.
Several areas within the town hall. We've just run into a lot of things that are coming up with this building now. So it's becoming more and more, and we've been overspending that item. So we just put more money in there to deal with some of those things that pop up. Hopefully we don't spend it, but
Do we do that in kind? Like in-house? Do we do that in-house?
Sometimes.
Do our men do
some. When we can, we absolutely do. Well, we utilize DPW, we utilize Joe Argenti, we utilize whenever we can, but some things you have to hire out.
Yeah,
and
you're not
that's
gonna
just-
have some guy come in and lay down a carpet who's never laid down a carpet.
Yeah.
We only do that with cement.
But I will say, like, Dave's guys installed the door in between the HR offices, and so cut that out and put that new door in, and they did the door down in finance too. So that saved us a lot of money. So absolutely.
Well, Fred, I'm sorry, Jay, I wasn't joking last week. Home Depot right now is offering free install. You go there, you buy the carpet, they'll come out, measure it, install it. It's free installation. They'll rip up the old one and everything. I mean, you can't go wrong. Right now, before that special runs over.
We're bound by the procurement process. We can't just go to Home Depot on something like that, on a purchase of that size. So it's because we have to follow the state purchasing regulations.
I can tell you it would be cheaper than anybody. That's cheaper than anybody right now.
I don't disagree.
I'm out shopping for carpet for a room right now. I can tell you, I can go to 4
We
different
could get
carpets.
3 bids in
It's
a
because
matter
of
of
the
15
free
minutes.
installation right now. So get the 3 bids and go that route.
Call up, get 3 bids.
Jack?
So is that $20,000 including what our guys can do and going out?
Mm-hmm.
So even when our guys do the work,
Depending
we
on the
still have to buy the materials and
Right.
all that. But yeah, it does. It includes all that. It's just we've seen an increase. A lot of the stuff is related to HVAC. We've got really old systems and roof issues. We're going to have to replace this roof. We replaced the side on the fire department. We have not done this side. We've been told it's going to need it very soon.
When?
We're holding out. We're trying to make it another year.
Right now, we're servicing it.
We're
Keep it,
we're patching as we go, but it's but we've had issues and we've had to have them up there doing spot repairs, so it's not going to last many more years. But this year's budget just couldn't handle it, so we don't have it in there. But we have extra money in there because we know we're going to have to deal with that reality.
Fred, I have one more question.
Yeah.
You probably can answer this. You have on here for item number 11 on the agenda for revenue.
Yeah.
Is that all encompassing revenue from everywhere? Or is it, because there's no revenue on here?
Correct. All
So
revenue
it's
is
all
under
gonna
the
be all
revenue
one
item.
sheet? Yes.
Correct.
Department, state, as well as taxes.
Yes.
Okay.
There's one page, one sheet that has everything, so.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for George? Thank you, George.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, George. No, we can cover that.
Street lighting?
It's 23, just one back.
You have 77,000 in front?
Yeah, so that's basically the debt service and the maintenance, right?
That's just the main.
Just the maintenance? Oh, all right, so debt service will be in debt service. Yeah, this is the maintenance for the lights that we now own. So before, if you look back to 2016, the actual, we were paying National Grid for everything, and now we're just paying the maintenance and the debt service on that item.
We got a $408,000 savings there.
Well, not total, because we do have debt service on the purchase of the LEDs, but we will, I think the estimated savings is 100 plus thousand
So let me ask you a question.
per year.
So when we get complaints, because we've had a few complaints about
Yeah.
them dimming the lights or turning them off,
Yeah.
like, are we charged every time that we have to send somebody out there? Is that why it's?
No, we have a regular flat maintenance
Okay.
agreement.
So right now, as they're installing them, and just to make it clear, once they're done installing, we will have access to adjust those lights.
Not all of them, correct?
No, you better do it electronically.
But when I talked to you, I thought some of them were not going to be connected to the.
No, well,
They're all.
yeah, I think all of them are gonna have the controllers on them, correct? Once everything's
every
done.
single light will be.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue with a dim light or
Yeah, we
too
can turn
bright,
it up.
Yeah.
we'll be able to adjust that.
Do we know the timetable? I know we have one constituent that we've had,
Yeah.
Pulaski, that's asked about the lights being dimmed. I know we were waiting for a timeline for them all to be on board. Do we know
Yeah.
how far away we are?
If there's a problem, on Pulaski Street,
Yeah.
just call up. They'll have a.
I think
they'll
they're
have a
looking
dip
at-
brought up.
I think they're looking at, May timeframe. Everything will be
May or
online
early
and in
June.
sync. Yeah,
Okay.
May or early June. Yeah. You have something?
Street lighting, all this decorative lighting and stuff in here, that's
That's
not in
still-
that budget. You gotta add some money in there, because all the light bulbs and stuff like that, I've been paying for out of my budget. And we were supposed to discuss about putting some money in there. We mentioned it at the little sit down. we
Decorative
had.
meaning the street
All the
lights?
stuff in Arctic, down by the Royal Mills, all
they
the
gonna be doing
fancy
those?
stuff and everything like that. No, he said that wasn't part of it, is what he told us. We
I
have
thought
to
they were gonna
maintain
put
that
in the
stuff.
ones to match the
Yeah, I
fixtures.
think that we'll get back on
So
that.
you gotta find out, because
Yeah.
if not, we need money in that budget,
Okay.
all right? Every time one gets hit, if I can't get an accident report and can't go
Wow,
after
yeah.
the insurance company, I end up paying for those. Those lights are, like $4,800 a piece,
Yeah.
The what?
Somebody hits one, how do you not get an accident report besides a hit and run?
hit and run,
How often does that happen?
quite often. We, probably had 5 or 6 lights last year, and I only was able to collect on 4.
What's the trust, what's our,
2,500.
so we can put that through the trust?
Yeah,
There's 3 or
well,
4
we
of
do.
them.
We do as much as we can, and they'll pay up to a certain point. So, but I still have to eat the
It's when you
2,500.
catch, it's when you catch the guy that hits it, the insurance company will pay
Right.
for all the ones that were.
Yep.
Yeah, so, don't forget that, we'll need that.
Okay.
While we're, talking, that
stop-
mirror you put up on Wakefield Street, it's in Al's yard, no, it's down. I gotta go see Sinergia, I'm gonna see if we can
So
put a
stop
pole.
sign in your ward today too. You probably saw it at the end of Tanglewood.
That's still down?
I
Yeah,
just
it's still
saw
down.
it. It's been for a while. Okay.
I sent it to Angela. and
Okay.
they-
Yeah, I literally just saw it this evening.
And just to add to the debt service portion for the wind turbines, that's gonna be including the debt service portion of the budget, so we shifted it from one area to another. So
Town-
when we do that, we'll talk about it.
Thank you, Joe. Town Sergeant.
Level funding.
All set. Bert, have a good night. How you feeling, John?
I'm fine to stay for the meeting, so if you wanna get everything else done, we can leave our bigger ones.
Just checking on you.
Yeah, that's fine, I appreciate it. Thank you.
What are we on, Dave?
Do town council.
Town
Yeah, let's
council?
do town council. 14.
14.
No, it's not page 14. What page is that?
7.
The justification is with the town clerk as well.
Page 7.
Page 7.
Everybody else is asking for a raise, should we? Even though nobody's getting one. Who didn't ask? Joe, we're taking it all out of yours.
I did this budget and I just did straight flat funding.
We went down in supplies and expenses by 5,000. What's that for?
Let me see my justification.
Town council.
Hold on, let me see.
Now, let me ask a question. What do we ever do when we put $25,000 on the side last budget, Dave, with the previous council?
That was in, per
That's
wood.
somewhere.
that's in, was it general, what the hell?
Well, I'm talking about the per ward.
Yeah,
That was in capital. Put that line
it was 50,000 per ward. It was in capital.
But then, no, do we also put a $25,000 budget on the council because Mary Ann was spending money on flowers and we didn't have money?
No,
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 that's
that
in
was,
there.
that was the, was that the Sunshine
That's
Fund?
contribution, Sunshine went up to 2,500.
Went up to
No,
2,500.
no, this was 25 grand,
And
remember?
No, it was
20,000 was
2,500.
contributions, we upped contributions,
The average,
20,000.
the average
Yeah, it
floral,
was.
floral arrangement's between $100 to $200, depending on what, or a fruit basket. So that's what we looked at was, unfortunately, and we have had a lot of instances in the past couple of years. That's why we upped it. It went from 1,200 or whatever it was to 0 to 2,500, and that's the Sunshine Fund. If you look at 2015, 2016, it was like 1,200, 900. This year we've used 437, but I think that's a little higher. I think it's closer to $1,000 right now,
Yeah.
based upon
Yep.
my conversations with Paul. I don't know if you're aware what happens with this Sunshine Fund. For instance, we got a card right here. Candace lost her father a couple of weeks back. So what we do for all town employees that lost a family member, father, mother, sister, brother, knock on wood, no children or anything, but we usually send arrangements on behalf of the town council. If they have a private ceremony or something, we send them a fruit basket and, to their house or whatever from the town council. So last year was a pretty hectic year. We were going, I think, for a little while there, at least 2 a month. It was just we had a 6-month span that was just unreal. But so we had to make sure we had money in that budget, because when Paula calls me up and says that somebody had passed away, she says, "What do you want to do?" I say, "Do normal." She just goes ahead and does it. That's on behalf of the town council. If it's a situation where she thinks they need meals or something, she'll have like Dave's Market bring them over a dinner or something like that. So that's what that budget's for. So if anybody sees the Sunshine Fund, it's not for sunshine.
And the contributions I kept at 20,000, even though we gave 5,000 to the police memorial and 5,000 to the station fire memorial. And that was a one-time thing.
Yep.
I did put that, I just left it at 20. I don't know if you want to decrease that right now, but right now we're up to 13,550 at the halfway mark of the year. So you may want to leave it at 20. I reduced expenses and supplies because the past 2 budgets we haven't needed $12,000. And what I do at the end of the year is we use whatever supplies we need throughout the year, your badges, your whatever it is, and then at the end of the year, what's ever left, I buy cartons of paper because I don't charge you for paper all year, and that's the same thing I do at the municipal court. I just buy paper at the end of the year for the office because we use so much paper, but I wait to see if you have an overage in that account. So if you don't, we don't buy paper.
The non-profit, I think we should take the 5,000 each off. The 13,000 is because of the police memorial. I know that.
Make it 15?
I'd bring it back down to 10 or
Okay.
whatever it was the year before.
It was 8.
No,
It was 8,
993 we spent.
but we did spend 93.
I would leave it at 10.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of leagues, and we get odds and ends that.
Get ads during the year for the kids'
Yeah.
books,
I'd keep it at 10.
nonprofits.
Okay.
Bring it back down to 10. So we're looking at 53,889. That's the first cut, gentlemen.
So a quick question in the summary section under benefits. So it looks like the benefits of the payroll taxes
Correct.
in this case. But that doesn't seem the same in other areas. Like the benefits doesn't match the payroll tax. What else is included in that in benefits?
Well, the payroll taxes would be just the payroll taxes, the FICA and whatnot.
Mhm.
However, with other departments, you have the medical benefits.
Okay, so it includes all of the benefits. Okay.
Right, so there's separate line items for, as a matter of fact, on here, they're listed as 0 because there is no medical insurance, there is
Mhm.
no dental insurance, and there is no life insurance. So most other departments have those.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
questions on that? So we have a reduction of 10,000 down to 53,889.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Bert?
You know, I don't think the town council has had a raise since 92. And I've been attending these meetings for all those years, yet I don't remember you guys getting a raise once. And for all the work that you do and the people you have to put up with it, if anybody is worth the raise, it's the town council. Because the town of West Warwick is getting a big, big budget.
Bert, we've,
You guys do a hell of a good job.
Bert, I appreciate, because you pretty much tell us that almost every year. I've always talked to the council, I know we've had this conversation. Me personally, if we do get a raise, I would like to see it to be voted on the ballot, not something that we just do arbitrarily. But again, that's up to the entire
I agree,
council.
I know, I agree.
It's not something I wanna do, and again,
Yeah, new council comes in, gives themselves a
Well,
raise.
it's-
I can see that headline that cover the paper.
no, it's not that, gentlemen, it's more.
Up to a vote for the whole town, I'll bet it would pass.
No,
Yeah, but you know what, Brett? I agree with David. It
But I-
should be voted on by the whole town, not by the council like other communities do. But I would not even want it on the ballot because we're denying raises to
Yeah.
our employees and our administrators. And even though, I mean, we work for a quarter an hour, I understand that, but it doesn't set good precedent.
Bert, one
I
thing
wouldn't go for
that
it.
we have set up here, and I know we had discussions about this late last year, after budget time, Councilman Giroux, Councilman Abdullah, and myself, and, you know, pension talks were coming up and all that, and one
That's
thing
gonna be addressed sooner or later.
And one thing I said is, we're trying to fix a problem, I don't wanna become part of the problem. And I agree with Angelo with, also that if it ever came up, I'd like to see it on the ballot, but also it'd be unkind of me to sit there and say, and crucify somebody over a pay raise or whatever, and then give myself one. And I've stuck.
Still.
I'd still, because
not
you know
being
what,
good
the people
leaders.
also vote on the budget, and if we told them that we're giving a tax increase because we're giving pay raises, they may vote the budget down. You know, it's that type of deal. You just don't know what's going to happen. And again, we'd be crazy to sit up here and say no raise, no raise, no raise, and then give ourselves a raise. And even if it was voted on, it's just not the right time. There's always a good time for everything, and right now, you know, I've been on here 10 years. I don't do this for the money. Trust me. When people say, "Oh, you must make a killing," I could tell you right now, I'll give you my W-2. I probably spend more in fundraisers and everything else every year that this doesn't cover it. So when people say I do it for
Don't
the
cover
money,
a third of it.
yeah, when people say we do it for the money, they're totally wrong. And that's not why I got into it. It's not for the money. It's a part-time job, but it's not about the money. It's about the town.
Nobody works harder than you guys.
It's very kind of you, Bert, but I think as a new councilman, we just started.
You haven't worked hard
You know.
enough yet, you three over
You know,
here.
Hey, Brett, we were gonna initiate the 3 new ones and tell them to donate it to the old timers.
but thank you. It was very nice. But I don't see even putting it on a ballot.
Well, we're all part of
You
the
know.
same ship. A lot of concessions have been made.
Yes.
We have a manager who doesn't even take, you know, reimbursements for lunches and things to that effect. So it wouldn't be appropriate for us to take a
No,
raise
not at all. Not at all. Not even consider it.
Next year.
I wouldn't take one.
See you next year, Bert.
What's the lyric?
Thanks for the plug, though, Bert. We really appreciate it.
I think Bert's trying to get himself a raise with that.
I put my raise on with the council, and the council gives the raise. Then the town sergeant gets a raise.
Thank you,
All right,
though, Bert.
next, which one you want to do?
Tax collector?
Yeah, we'll go tax collector. Hi, Rose. How are you?
Tax collector, what number is that?
Page 16.
16.
16.
Is there an
I've had
order
some
to
friends
this?
of
We
yours
should
yesterday.
advertise.
What's that?
Is there an order that this is put in? Is it,
I don't put
or
it
is it just
together.
by the list, or?
I don't have a clue.
South County Trail, Prime America.
The department's numbered.
Is that what it
Moving
is?
to Vermont.
The department, the
Really?
I
Those
see.
two.
All right.
number, but we
Husband and
ran
wife?
Oh, I know, Gary and Eileen,
Yes,
nice people.
yes.
Okay, our department is responsible for collecting the money for the town, as you guys all know. Questions on anything you see, let me know. I did ask for an increase on supplies and expenses, and that's due to the fact that we need 2 printer validators. Ours are so old, and we're trying to keep them running. And that's for the
What's a printer validator?
when the customers come to the counter and they pay by check or cash, we have to validate their check or give them a receipt in cash. And it's just a validator. It validates the check.
Okay.
And we're supposed to be purchasing a car and sharing it with the tax assessor, and I believe finance, between the three.
The fire department currently has, that they're.
Pool vehicle.
They're putting out of commission, and it's still it's a decent car, and we're looking to purchase it from them and share it with.
Because we
assessors.
sometimes have to go and pick up mail on a daily basis, because we have P.O. boxes at the post office to get our mail.
So let me ask you a question. If they're retiring a vehicle, why do we purchase it from them?
Because they were going to trade it in. So they basically, instead of trading it in, they'll give it to us because they put the money back in the account, because the money that's used is through fire prevention. So if they're offered a trade-in value,
So we're paying both ways.
No, it's an accountant practice, I think.
yeah, it's an accounting practice.
I don't
So
like
we have
that
to
kind
show
of
the money.
accounting.
The fire prevention's a separate account, that
Yeah.
money is to be used for prevention, fire prevention, materials and goods and services and whatnot. So if they were to trade in that vehicle, or if we were to purchase it from them, they need to put it into that designated account, it's separate from the general fund.
Correct.
So rather than getting the trade-in, they mentioned it to us, we have a use for it, and we're talking $1,000.
Right.
It's not an expensive item. We just thought it would be helpful to have that available, rather than trying to, work around.
So you mean when we gotta go to the mail house or
Post office.
post office and other things, no one picks up the mail, we gotta go ourselves, right?
The finance department has some, in most cases, most of the time, some of the girls have been using their own vehicles.
Yeah,
As
that's,
far as banks, we go to the bank, it's a different situation, the police officer goes with them for obvious reasons, because they have deposits. But when it comes to the mail run, it's been the responsibility of the finance department. In the case of the assessor's office, there may be a need for Christine to go take a look at something, look at a property or something, so she would have a use for it as well, which is why we would look to share the vehicle.
Now what am I looking at wrong here? 2016, it was 239,570. Now we're looking at 376,205. What's the,
So you got to look at that number below that 272, 197. That's without the benefits, because remember 2016 we didn't have all the
All right,
benefits
okay.
and the payroll numbers
so the
in there.
benefits were another 118,000?
Right. So basically, you're looking at the increase there of 30-something thousand. That increase is I mentioned at the last meeting again that like we did with the floater, we made that person split between 2 offices. We're recommending another position split between the collector and the clerk's office.
So it's 50,000 more.
To eliminate overtime, essentially, because right now,
Right.
in the peak hours, or the peak times of the year, we're getting hammered right now in overtime. So this would offset some of the overtime expenses that we're currently
So that
incurring.
person doesn't exist right now?
Correct. So
So
this is
the
the
person-
only new position that we're proposing within the town hall budgets, and it's be split between the collector's office and the clerk's office. The other position was existing, we just kind of recreated it into a different form.
and just so you'll know that the overtime that was budgeted, we're still under budget. And we only have 1 collection quarter left, so we just might make it. We may go a little bit over. That's why I requested 8,000 in
Yeah.
overtime, which we might not need because if we have that extra
Right.
person every day for a half day.
They're under their budget in large part because of the floater. They utilize the floater extensively this year, which is why we think it's prudent to bring in that other person. But we had to have somebody with the demand that we know we're going to have in the building office, especially with the permits and the applications coming in for inspections. We have to have
So this floater's gonna
dedicated
work
position.
downstairs and where else?
Town clerk.
Town clerk's office.
Town clerk. So, what's the town clerk's office gonna look like? The 4 girls plus a half?
Correct.
Because
More-
sometimes,
it's about coverage.
Why do we need so
It
many in the
is-
town clerk's office?
sometimes they get bombarded and
Yeah.
we basically call each other. If we're down a person, we need that extra body to help us get through the day.
Do you get bombarded at the same time?
Not in clerk, not so much if it was assessor and tax collector,
That's
which
why
we
we
ran
that's
into
why we
that
split it
last
up like
year.
we did, because the assessor and the collector have similar rush times.
Yes.
So,
So we
we're
split
looking
it up
at
differently.
an extra 80 hours that we can float.
No.
No.
It'd be a total of 37 floating, 20.
All right, so, well, all right, so roughly 75 hours between the new position and the other half position, correct?
No, the other position already existed.
Okay.
It was already the floater, but they were under all the offices, and it was just not an easily managed process. We tried to make the best of it. They needed them a lot in the collector's office, but then the clerk's office had a lot of people out at various times. They didn't have the coverage for the office, and the
That's
assessor's
problem.
office was out.
The
in
abuse of sick time in that office, that's the problem.
It was various things, but it was.
Well, I want to go over that real quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't really
No, I
sick
know.
time. You actually had somebody's member of their family very
Yeah.
ill, so she had to take some time out. You've had some lose family members, so they took some time out. There has been some stress or whatever leave or whatever it may be, or whatever kind of leave it may have been. But again, the amount of time, and if anybody knows, I probably spend a lot of time in that clerk's office, especially if Mary Ann's not here. I do a pop in here and there. Do I feel it needs another half? I'm not sure. I can tell you that much. I'm not gonna get into that. But do they need a floater more when somebody's out? Yes, because there's vacation time. There are allotted how many hours vacation a year. So you're gonna have to cover like 16 to 20 weeks just in vacation time of somebody being out. Never mind other situations that happen. But with that being said, I don't want to walk in there and see things sometimes that I do see, and that's the face, because that's the number one office everybody comes walking into over there. There's a lot. Me personally, I think everybody should leave these in their lockers, and anything like that should be in their lockers and not at their desks, because that occupies a lot of their time.
We don't have lockers, but I understand what you're saying.
But in their purse, wherever it may be, it should not
Lockers
be.
on the budget.
This should not be on the desk.
Yeah, I agree.
can tell you that spends a lot of time and effort per week. Me personally, and I've had a conversation with another council member, and they brought something up to me. If somebody needs to get in touch with you, you have a phone at your desk. They can call you at any given hour of the day, to be honest with you. And, so to have a cell phone at your desk is another whole thing. That's why I'm a little leery about the half. I'm not saying nobody doesn't work hard, but I feel sometimes there's some downtime. Unfortunately, when there is a line out the door, and that's why I believe
At
everybody should be that's why I believe everybody should be cross-trained. I don't do that, I don't do this isn't my job. I've said it, and we've gone through this over the years, we're doing a lot more with a lot less. And I've always, Mary Ann, when we brought you on, I told you, I like to see people cross-trained, everybody help each other, and I know there's union rules and all that, but, we just can't be hiring people just because somebody else doesn't want to do somebody else's job.
Dave, everyone in our office knows all of the jobs. Now they do.
Well, now you
because
got
of the union
you got
rules.
people moving on, right now, you're saying that, but we got 2 people moving out of that office, so we're gonna have possibly 2 new people in that office.
Well, the one new person who moved in did the job before.
Right.
So she's in, but I think that at this point, they all know each other's jobs, because who's having a parent sick, who's having a baby, who's on stress. it's required us to cross-train. I'm not allowed to be trained in any of it, although I know most of it. I'm not really allowed to do any of the work, which I don't get, but that's the union rules. So, I mean, it is a challenge, trust me, but I think last year, if you remember, we had 4 elections. We had a presidential preference primary, we had a referendum, we had a primary, and we had a presidential election that was very highly contested and crazy. And our office was a zoo. We were pulling people in anywhere we could get them because it was so busy. And Rose was allowing us to use the floater a lot more than, even though she needed it, knowing it. And then when we were done, we were able to say, here, you can have anytime you want it. So we do work it out.
I'm fine with the floater. I like the aspect of the floater. I think I was a big proponent of that last year about a floater because people call out sick, do whatever, however it may happen, that you can slide personnel over here and there. I'm a big proponent of that. So I understand it. I just, you know, like you said, it's been busy for an election because of presidential election. That only happens every 4 years. If, you know, I don't want to fill a spot for something that's going to get busy every 4 years. That's my only concern. And,
Right.
and trust me, there's things that, you know, that I've walked into, you know, I could see a congregation sometimes happening there. Not just with those 4 employees, but there's 6 or 8 in there, and there's
No.
4 plus whoever else decides to go up in there because, I mean, let's face it, they go in, they get their mail, they start talking to whatever. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want to fill positions when we have, if there's departments having downtime.
Well,
You
can
know,
I say something? In our department, quarterly collections are the busiest.
Yeah, you get busy then.
Okay?
Yeah.
And Robin was our floater. She was so helpful. That's why we didn't have to work Saturdays.
Mhm.
Usually, before I became tax collector and I was deputy, we only had 2 clerks and a deputy. Now we have tax collector, deputy, 2 clerks, plus we utilized Robin, and we cut our overtime in half.
No, I
Okay.
don't disagree with that, Rose.
So-
I'm not even talking about the finance department.
I know, but I'm just saying that's important to us because we had a summer. We didn't have to work all Saturdays in July and all Saturdays in August. You know, for us, it's important. You know, plus we just implemented an ACH program, which is getting larger. So when we started it in July, we had only 43 accounts. And in just one day, when the money comes in, one batch. You know how it's automatic and it comes out of your account automatically. 24,000 in just one day versus collecting those checks and trying to process them manually. Where in January, it's up to 52,000 and we have 106 accounts. And that's less that we're processing in-house, check-wise. And we also implemented a wire transfer program, which we have 3 banks, 3 large mortgage companies. They wire the money right away to us, gets the money right in the bank. We don't have to process those checks manually. But we're still processing a lot of checks manually. But we're trying to implement other ways of, we even have credit cards. I mean, we're doing everything possible to get the money.
Charge extra for that, though.
We do.
Almost everybody does.
No, I know.
3%.
2 to 3%.
You know, I mean, we are trying to do anything and everything that we can to help
But
the customers.
The banks are charging us, so we have no recourse over that. I mean, we can't take a 3% hit on all our taxes.
Right, it goes right to the consumer.
We've been looking into some other options to possibly be able to do that.
Well, if that 3% brings our collection rate to 99%, yeah, we could take that hit.
Well, we're gonna get it anyway, so, I mean, why pay for it?
And plus, the other thing we've implemented was we scan the checks in. So our deposits that we do on a daily basis, they're getting deposited the same day. So that's no more checks in our department go to the bank. They're all scanned in through the scanner. That money is deposited that night, right away. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I know. I used to sit here and Councilman Kenningham used to send a picture of his check to the bank, and all of a sudden it was deposited.
Yep.
You're kidding me, right?
Really quick.
It's a similar process that
Yeah.
citizens put in place for us.
The only
all the
thing.
big insurance companies, you send them the check, they want it void. They just.
And the
send
only
the
thing
check
we do
number,
have to
done.
do deposits for is our cash. You know, so.
Right. Any questions for Rose on this budget? Thank you, Rose.
Okay, thank you.
Rosie.
I have a general question, not for Rose.
General.
But just when we were talking about roles, that we talked about the clerk's office and 4 clerks and they all have a different role, and you say about them being cross-trained, they can all do the same job, correct?
If somebody's out, somebody has to pick up that.
No, I'm talking if nobody's out and somebody
No.
comes in with a specific question.
Oh, they can answer questions, but they.
Not a legal question, but we could answer a question.
Probate's a little different because the probate laws, so the probate person probably knows a little more about it.
Okay.
So they may tell the person at the front desk, please leave your name and number, or we'll have somebody contact you. But other than that, as far as you have your probate, you have your license, you
Business
have,
licensing, we do vital statistics, liquor licensing,
Okay.
elections, land evidence. And I think that, like, for land evidence and probate, no, we don't, we're, by law, cannot give out legal advice.
I'm just talking like, all right, you have I may be saying this wrong. If you have a specific person that can deal with, say, elections, can the other 3 deal with that as well?
What happens is,
answer a customer's question or do their work?
Work-wise.
no, not really,
And why is
except the
that?
deputy falls in under the canvas board clerk during election season.
Correct.
And,
That's another thing I have a problem with.
well,
So, all right, so let me,
this is.
again, this is just for my knowledge,
say.
for all our knowledge, I
No, I
guess.
know.
Yeah.
And you may have the same questions, Jay. If I went in there for something, say it's elections, and the clerk who is responsible for the elections is out to lunch, out sick, on vacation, whatever it may be, do I have to wait until that person comes back?
Probably not. As a rule, I did elections for many years before becoming a town clerk in Connecticut. It's very similar to Rhode Island. I just look up the laws. I'm used to looking up laws.
Yeah, but
If you need an
the
application
election
or something,
Right.
if you need an application or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, a license application, yes, they can help you. But as far as, for instance, let's say the probate clerk's not here, she's out sick or
Yeah.
whatever. Can another person slide over and start entering all their work? I don't think they can.
Yes, we did. When she was out for 10 weeks, actually, I helped as much as I was able to, given that I'm not supposed to.
Is that based on knowledge, or is that
Paula
based on?
picked it up. Everybody picked up. Somebody comes in for probate and they want forms. We can give them forms. Then they can set up a time, get a lawyer set up a time to come to probate court. We all know how to do that, but the probate clerk can. I could look
But
through somebody.
isn't there a process you have to go through the union?
For.
When you're offering this position to be filled or done,
No, why?
and I'll use probate as
An
an
empty
example.
position, you mean?
No, probate, let's say that person's out for 10 weeks. Wasn't it other departments needed to know, or seniority, or was there any of that
If we
issue?
needed,
A fill-in.
if someone in our office couldn't pick it up, yeah.
On overtime or whatever?
Well, they do some on overtime, some gets left till she comes back, because she gets her work piled up on her. That's the same for anybody. We do what we have to get done every day and get the money in and this and that, get the advertisements, things that have deadlines.
To your point, Dave, if there's a position that we know is going to be vacant for a prolonged period of time, there's a process where people can temporarily bid into that,
Temporarily move into that role.
move into that position. But in this
But there's a
case,
whole process.
All right,
we
so-
didn't know if it was going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Mhm.
4 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 weeks. It just kept kind of
Kept going.
progressing. So
Now,
in that
also-
case, we don't fill it because we just don't know how long it's
Also,
going to
let's
be.
say there's a vacant position, okay? Now, probate clerk is going up to the civic center as secretary. That position now has to be bid.
Bid, yeah, you bid by
And
the
it has to go through, and whoever puts in for it, however that
Well, it
works.
can be a bid, if somebody in my office bids for it, they get it first. Otherwise,
Right.
if somebody doesn't, then it goes by seniority.
Yeah.
And the only thing I don't like about it is if 30 days, if they don't perform or do their job, now they can slot back into that
Right,
position and
right.
move everybody
And
back
everybody
out.
goes back.
It
So-
just becomes so disruptive.
But all right, to answer my question, I'll ask it in a different way.
Okay.
All right, if you have 4 people in an office,
Yeah.
irregardless, could be the tax office, and one person is getting piled up with work,
Yep.
and another person has their work, say, finished for the week,
Mm-hmm.
the month, whatever, can that person who is
Yeah.
done with their work
Sure.
Yes.
help that other person. They
Yes.
have the knowledge.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Do that.
sure.
Yes.
Some share.
Collectors,
Sure.
collectors, we can do that.
We,
They do.
in collectors, we cross-reference.
Yeah.
So if the deputies overlocked and the clerk
We
threes
do.
are up to date with their work, Debbie can delegate to the clerk, the clerk threes.
Okay.
But it's a different situation with the clerk's office, because they have different titles, correct me if I'm wrong,
Right.
Marianne.
Yeah,
They have
that's
different
exactly
titles
right.
with different
And
job specs.
descriptions,
Right.
yeah, that's.
They could be nice and help each other out. Do they have to? Absolutely not. And I don't
But
have
our
any say over
department,
that.
We do.
That's not right. That's-
Our department, we
Don't start me.
All right. So what? All right. So wait a minute. So if we're gonna put a
It may
float,
happen other spots. but
if
I
we're gonna
know
put a
it doesn't
floater
happen
in there,
elsewhere.
is the floater going
Any
to?
job.
The floater can do anything anybody needs the floater to do. Usually the floater ends up filing because we do so much paperwork in
Okay.
our office. We have piles to be filed
Is
constantly.
is the floater the new position? It's not a new position. All right. I got you.
that
It-
one
It's,
is.
one
it-
is.
it's a split position, the one that's being
Is it a union
proposed-
position?
Yes,
Yes.
because all this
Okay.
is union work. They have to be union positions.
Okay.
And that person essentially floats where needed, so they don't have like
Well,
a
that-
set
that-
schedule throughout the week.
That was the previous approach, but
This
it
is
was,
just
it
gonna
was,
be
it was very
designated to two
disorganized.
departments.
So what we're doing is we're designating between two departments, so it's a scheduled thing, so
Who
mornings in
sets
one.
that schedule?
Oh, so you are
It's,
setting a
it's gonna be
schedule.
mornings in one, afternoon in the other, on a regular basis, unless
It gets busy.
workload is such that it's needed full-time in one office or
And
the
who
other.
makes that decision? Okay.
Rose and I worked this out very well when we worked together before. I
Okay.
mean, we both got it. We didn't really even need to go to Fred and say, I gotta have her. It'd be,
Yeah.
I need her, this, and we worked it out very well together.
I'm
If
just-
she needed more.
So
Basically
that-
asking for
that's the clerk
clarification
side
how
of
this
it.
works.
And actually,
Yeah.
you look at DPW, theirs is even a lot different because they have drivers, laborers, masons, so
Yeah.
they categorize, so there's certain people that can do certain things.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on that one? All right, let's move to, John, how you feeling?
I'm still fine.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do. If you want to do clerks next and do finance and stuff till the end, whatever works for you. Still
What are we
have
doing?
capital, too, for,
Finance.
Capital, I think, is gonna be a little time, so I wanna keep that for the end. Let's go to finance. Just in case,
15.
John.
That's fine. Thank you.
15.
Okay, this is page 15 for the documents that you actually have. There's just a couple of increases that actually you're going to see from one year to the next. Both of them pertain to additional requirements that are needed for the audit as well as for some financial reporting and so forth. So you will see in the part-time line item, there's a $6,000 increase request, and there's also a $10,000 request as far as the annual audit, which is something that's built into the contract that we have with our auditors. So that's not something that I'm asking for. It's something that's contractually obligated because we have a 3-year contract for the audit. As far as that part-time, we do have a gentleman who comes in on a monthly basis as needed. It does the bank reconciliations and does some of the accounting work that needs to be done. And there are some additional requirements now that we need to comply with. And we're also looking into a potential replacement for that part-time person because he is older. He's been with the town for many, many years. And we have reason to believe that he may be deciding to actually retire soon. Unfortunately, it might be for health reasons, but in any case, I'm trying to prepare for the next phase when he no longer is doing the work for us. A lot of the work that he was doing was very manual, very paper-oriented, so we're looking to start to utilize the system, which means that it may be less hours involved, but to get a replacement for him may cost more on an hourly basis. So again, I'm just trying to prepare for, for that potential change. As far as the other line items, you're going to see most of them are pretty much the same with the exception of medical, which is across the board for all the departments because of the potential medical increase of 8% for claims. And that trickles down to all the departments because of the working rates that are charged to each of the departments.
Any questions for John? Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Good to see you back, John.
He just wanted to hang out with us tonight.
Got sick of looking at the four walls.
Let's go over revenue.
Page 3.
What page?
3.
This is where it all comes.
But do you wanna take the lead on it, or?
No, go ahead.
Let's try it. Okay, what you see in front of you for the revenue, we'll go right to the taxes, because that's obviously the big one. What this budget includes is a 3.75% increase to the levy, which is in line with the 5-year plan that was approved a few years back. What we did need to do, or what we felt we needed to do, was adjust the collection rate that was applied, or that it gets applied to that, to the actual collections. We've been historically budgeting at 97%. However, the last couple of years, we have seen a decrease in the collection rate for one given year. Although we do have a prior year tax line item, and we do expect that in the following year, we would actually collect those taxes. It's not lost revenue, it's the timing. For accounting purposes, financial statement for financial statement preparation and issuance, you can only record the fiscal year plus a 60-day period within that fiscal year financial statements. So that's why we have you'll see a prior year number, which is the prior year taxes that get collected, or we expect to be collected. But as far as the actual current year collections, we did adjust down to 96.75%. So we did reduce it by a quarter, trying to be a little more conservative with it, because the less that we budget for the collection rate, more possibility that we do better than what we actually budgeted, in which case we would generate more revenue than expected. One of the things I will say that we have done within the last year, Rose had made a presentation to the council previously, as well as myself. We did switch collection agencies for the prior year taxes, and what we've done is we've seen very good results from them as far as what they've been able to collect on the prior year, and we've also had some conversations with them about potentially giving them more recent, not so much the current year, but maybe right after the fiscal year ends, give them the taxes, the delinquent taxes, more quickly than we would have in the past, to try to again get that revenue within that 60-day period that we can accrue back to the previous year. So we're doing what we can to ramp up with that collection agency and ramp up collections ourselves, but we do feel we would prefer to be more conservative, so that we don't have a situation like we've had the last couple of years, where the current collections did not come in as well as what we had budgeted. As far as interest, we have seen interest on the property taxes, delinquent accounts. We have seen that number has been growing because people are delinquent. So we actually did look to we kept that the same, but previously that was around $450,000 per year. But now we're at 500. We've been that way for the last 2 years, and we've been pretty consistent with meeting that number in terms of the interest. The other category, the next group of categories of revenues on the document in front of you, has to do with the state aid. First one is the school aid, which is driven by the formula that the state uses for the schools. That number is right from that number, as well as the numbers below for the state aid, are from the governor's proposed budget. At this point, that's the only thing we have to go on. We would hope that as it's proposed is what will actually get enacted. If we're lucky, maybe there'll be some increases there, but historically what we've done is used the governor's budget as the base for the state aid revenues. Yep. Next group of revenues has to do with the departments. For the most part, there's some that we actually did decrease slightly.
John, municipal court, all we're making is 10 grand out of that?
That's all that comes back to the town, but the municipal court itself has its own separate fund. But there's been $10,000.
Pays the expenses and things like that.
Well, there's gonna be a lot. You're doing two times a month, a place is loaded.
That has a separate budget, but as part of.
And where does all that money go?
That goes into a separate municipal court account.
But all they got is, we got a judge and a clerk.
Right, and whatever they collect for fines and fees stays in that account, but they do,
And where does it
Give
where does
10
it
back.
end up? In other words, how much money's in there? Who sees that?
I don't know the number off the top of my
I think
head,
there's about
what's in it.
130,000, quite a bit of it goes to the state. Because I'm a municipal court clerk as well, and quite a bit of that money goes to the state, they get their cut, and then we get a portion. And the police use it for, different equipment.
So are they
things like
paying for
that.
our judge and our
That's-
clerks?
It all comes
The
out of that.
the municipal court fund that I mentioned is set up similar to an enterprise fund, similar like wastewater and the way Civic Center is. It supports itself, but in addition to what it does to support itself, there's $10,000 worth of revenue that comes back to the town, and that's what you see here.
That's it.
That's what they give back to us.
That's not to pay anything, that's the administrative fee to the town.
Correct.
Everything else gets paid, everything that gets done gets paid out of the municipal court budget, which is operated on the state level. In the municipal
Think of it as, that's almost like an administration fee for the town, similar to what we do with wastewater. You'll see there's a wastewater revenue line item,
Yeah, we give you
wastewater
300
admin.
grand a year.
Right. Obviously, that's a much larger operation than a municipal court, but municipal court.
I wouldn't know. I don't know about that, the way it's been going lately.
But at this point, and in previous years, 10,000's been the number that has come back to the town. If that's a number that the council, would like to request more from the court, then that would be a conversation to have with the municipal court judge and Mary Ann.
The building official, I know we're at 300,000 last year, we're at 300,000 this year, we don't see any type of increase happening there?
Again, trying to be
It looks
conservative.
a little low at 106 already for half the year.
Which is why we kept it at the 300, but we
Kept
do
it
expect,
conservative.
we do expect that it's going to increase. But again, we're trying to be conservative with these numbers because, we don't want to overshoot the revenues and then have, a situation where we have similar to what we have with revenues
One
for
of
the
the-
taxes.
One of the big things that I got to speak to somebody here in the back of the parking lot on St. Patrick's Day Parade weekend. I'm not even going to hide it. Lieutenant Governor McKee brought a lot up to my attention about the car taxes. And I'm looking at the motor vehicle portion here now at 231,779 as a revenue. What type of effect, if the state gets rid of the car taxes?
That was my question too.
And trust me, I'm a proponent of getting rid of the car taxes. But what I'm being told is West Warwick could
Get hurt the most.
get hurt the most and lose over $1 million in revenue.
Yeah, so the
Well, this-
231 is
Yeah, good.
is just what the state gets back because we're required to not raise the rates and we're required to stay at a certain level in terms
that's
of
the
exemptions.
exemption.
Yeah, that's the exemption.
So what we actually get for car tax is under that all the tax collection number that, and it's roughly 5 million and
I
change.
think it's closer to 6.
Closer to
Between
6
5 and
million.
6 million.
What are we per thousand? 25?
28.
28? Yeah, we're gonna get over $1 million whack.
Yeah.
We're gonna get whacked over $1 million.
Which is a half
Well,
percent, which is like a
Yeah.
1.25% tax increase.
And that's
to cover
that's
that revenue.
that's after the
Or
5-year
1.5%
phase-in
cut.
as proposed. So
Yeah.
How much will it affect this budget?
we don't know
this year?
because we
don't
haven't
know.
seen
We
it.
don't
No
know
one, no one's
exactly what
rolled it
it'll
out
be.
yet.
What's
Right.
going on?
We just hear the rumors. We hear, So ultimately, and I've voiced this to the governor's office, and I've voiced this with our legislators so far that I think either proposal is a bad idea right now, because they both say even the governor's proposal is just to change the way that cars are valued, because that's the complaint we always hear. It's like, I've got a,
And they're right.
2006, Oldsmobile. You're trying to tell me it's worth $10,000. It's not. And they're right. And if they try to trade that in or do something with that, they're never going to get that money for it
They have
because it's
three
based
different-
upon the highest value. What the governor's proposal is to take that value and knock 30% off it, which would get you real close to retail value. But even that requires paying the towns back for that lost revenue, that 30% loss. I'm sure that the first year of this program, whichever one they go with, whether it be the speakers or the governors, the first year they'll reimburse us the money. After that, all bets are off. We've seen it happen before, where they said they were going to reimburse us. The economy goes in the tank. We're the first ones that they stop paying. And our
And you know
taxpayers,
they're gonna do it.
You know they're going to do it.
They're just gonna let
So-
it go the first year so nobody complains.
I'm
and then
against
they're
it,
gonna-
period. I just think it didn't work in the past. Other states have tried. New Jersey, Virginia have all tried to eliminate it and ended up bringing it back, similar to what we did. I just think it's really I don't trust, and I said to the governor's office, I said, change the Constitution to state that the legislature has to give us the money.
They won't do it.
Then I'll talk. But absent that, I just can't see supporting it because I know what's going to happen. A year or two down the line, they're going to pull the rug out from under us.
The most complaints, you're not going to hear complaints about people paying taxes on their car. What you're going to hear the complaints
Valuation.
on. There's four different values on a car. If you go NADA or Blue Book, you have fair market trade-in, you have rough retail, rough wholesale, regular wholesale, rough condition, retail, trade-in value. You have like 4 or 5 different values, and they'll go anywhere from a car in showroom condition, 6,000, to a car in poor condition, which is about 1,500.
Right.
And most of these people that are complaining, and I know they're customers of mine, they come down for parts.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to charge them $50 because the car's not even worth $50 to fix. And they show me their tax bills where they're getting charged $4,000 and $5,000. It's ludicrous. You know,
I can
that's
tell you,
where they're mad.
Angela, my Dodge Ram, 05, thing was rotted to everywhere. It had rot, and they were still valuing it at $17,000. I traded the truck in. I was begging for 12.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I
12,
just
but
don't
it was
get
really actually worth 5.
And yeah, they actually really only gave me 5. But
That's all they gave you. You know, then people think, oh, they give me $20,000 on a trade-in. No, they didn't. They got your car for free. I'm in the business. I know.
But again,
Yeah.
no, I agree because I'm sit there and I get a tax bill of $17,000 valuation on
Yeah,
a
that's
05.
where the people get
And,
really.
and my cousin just called me up because he's going through. He has to get all his paperwork together for something he has going on, and he says, "Help me explain something to me. How is my 1999 Jeep valued more today than it was 5 years ago?" I said, "I don't know."
That's the biggest complaint we
I
get.
said, Don't
is
ask
just
me.
the way
I
it's
said,
valued.
That's it.
Just move
And
the
that
numbers around.
and that's what they did in Mass. They did it. They changed the valuation. No, actually, Mass did one rate.
Sure.
Connecticut did the changing the valuation, and that quieted a lot of the complaints. To Angelo's point, it's not that they're paying the tax; it's that
No, it's not.
it's not a real value.
Right. It's
like
crazy.
fantasy land,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
And for anybody who didn't know, we used to get a $6,000 credit from the state. The state used to reimburse us $6,000 per car or vehicle.
Stop that.
And they stopped that. And right now, I think we're at $1,000. Is that the minimum?
I believe it's
right.
tough.
Yeah.
So that's what they get off
Yeah,
the
it is.
evaluation,
$1,000.
$1,000. Where before you used to get $6,000 off.
But I mean, if people get a from a certified appraiser, if they got the appraisal of their car, I did this with a Mercedes. I have an older Mercedes, and the only reason why I registered or insured the car is for number plates that've been in the family. So you know, they value it. But if you get an appraisal from a certified appraiser that the car's only worth X amount of dollars, they can't charge you this amount of dollars because they have to go by that appraisal.
Yeah,
Really?
people don't
We would
wanna
have
waste
to
their
go
time,
by.
energy, and money to do that either.
Yeah, they're gonna charge them, you know, a
Yeah.
couple $100 for the
To
appraisal. I
appraisal.
know I'm a certified appraiser, you know, unless you know somebody, but you're gonna get $200 to do an appraisal.
Well, since you know you're an appraiser, I'll be down tomorrow.
And I just wanted to point out one thing. I think, Councilman Licciardi, I think you had asked previously when we, last week, although I wasn't here, I was watching the meeting, the police department had the crossing guards, and you asked about the school department. Am I correct? You asked the question?
Yeah, John asked.
Oh, John, I'm sorry.
But the 100,000's
So
back here.
basically, you will see a line item here that says school crossing guards / SRO. That's the reimbursement from the school department for both the crossing guards as well as the school resource officer. So the expense appears in the police department and the reimbursement is here. And for the new council members, I just want to also mention that the sewer admin fee that you see there, that's a fee that the sewer department or wastewater treatment plant budget includes for the services that of the town manager, town council, finance director, and so forth. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the fire rescue fees, there is a revenue that we do actually have in the general fund, which is currently at $900,000 for this year's budget. That's from the rescue runs. So that's money that comes back to the town. Besides the fact that there is money that comes to the town, there is a designated fund, and the fire department manages that, and that separate fund allows for purchase of certain fire apparatus, including rescues and fire other fire equipment that's needed. And last summer, the council had approved, or actually last year, I'm trying to remember how long
The
ago it
new
was.
fire rescue.
The council did approve recently the ability to be able to have the fire chief use that money for more than just initially the fire rescue. So now that's allowed us to be able to reduce the capital needs in terms of some of the equipment that the fire department may need for the actual vehicles. So just want to mention that for whatever it's worth.
What
just
I'm
to kind of
surprised
bring
at,
it to
John,
speed.
now this police revenue, is this the road details and everything that we get reimbursed for?
No, details
That's not.
completely separate account.
Now, what is this?
This is actually just some of the fees that go back into the general fund for some of the services that the police department provides, whether it's copies of documents, police reports, any of the fees that they charge
So
for
where
those
would,
type of things.
where would the revenue be that we collect for our police officers to work road details?
It's a separate, there's no budget for it, it's a separate detail account. What happens
Used
is,
to purchase cars and things like that, you'll
Correct.
see.
That goes in, yeah, but what fund does that, where does that go?
it's a police detail fund, it's a special revenue fund in the 800 series or 800 areas.
Is there a way we can get a copy
Okay,
of these
yeah.
special?
Yeah, I know, that's what,
Yeah, it's actually included in the audit, and it does have the separate
Yeah, I know,
designations, but it's not obvious.
If we could just put it in here somewhere as designated funds in our
Okay.
budget. So the Civic Center I know is a designated fund.
No, that's an enterprise fund, so
Enterprise.
you'll actually get a presentation like
So-
you do with the sewer department on that.
Chief Barris has a designated fund.
Yep.
Chief Magera has a designated fund.
The court.
Because I know, are they still utilizing like online auctions and all that stuff, and they're taking in that revenue?
I'm not sure.
I know we're selling stuff online, like I'm trying to remember what Chief Silva did.
We've done that in the past with cars that we've seized for drug arrests or something, but we haven't done it for a while.
Okay, we haven't done that. All right.
Yep.
The other thing I'm looking at here is DPW recycling revenues. Is that I thought that would go up higher, especially with these new recycling bins. Would that?
Yeah,
Well, the prices are in the tank right now. The recycling rates that we're seeing. So, all those
Yeah,
numbers have come down.
I feel, and I'm gonna be honest, like just in my household, I feel we do 3 times the amount of recycling with these bins.
Easy,
Easily.
easy.
Because I have room.
They're not selling the materials, so they're not getting any money back in.
Yeah.
They predicted we might not even get a incentive this year.
how do we know if they're getting it, we're not? How do they know?
Their audit.
Huh?
Their audit. Their annual report and audit. They have to issue an annual report and an audit as well. So,
we'll know if they don't get the credit for us?
yeah,
But it won't be just us, it'll be everybody.
be everybody.
Is that all or nothing, Dave?
So then,
Is everybody
why-
or nobody? As far as getting that back?
Yeah.
It breaks down by tonnage. The more you recycle, the more you get.
Okay.
I mean, we're usually in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
How does the ice rink, is that operation as an enterprise fund as
It's an
well?
enterprise fund, so you will actually get a separate, we're planning to do it around the same time the sewer department comes before you, the wastewater treatment plant, because they have to present a special budget for the enterprise fund that you, as the sewer commission, will approve. And we're gonna do a similar thing with the civic center, because it's a separate enterprise fund, it's a self-sustaining. The idea is that they're not asking you for money, it's the money that they're utilizing is money that they bring in for the fees. It's similar situation with the civic center.
Does the money, say for both Civic Center and Ice Rink, do we take in enough money to cover everything?
Yes, the budget is designed and the operations are designed
Yep.
to support itself. And also, we've also built into last year's budget, and you'll see it as part of this year's budget, some amount of revenue that would be returned to the fund or put into the fund
Right.
for the huge amount of expenses we initially paid up front.
Yeah, because we did a lot of
It started in a
improvements we had to
deficit.
get
Right.
the place up and running. So, but we're paying ourselves back through the subsequent budgets because it is turning a profit. So we're able to take that, some
we'll
of
be able
that.
to see that profit, what we're
You're going to see
spending.
everything. Yeah.
Right, as part of that
Absolutely.
separate budget presentation. But if I recall correctly, I think we were somewhere around $200,000 in the hole when we first started operations because
Right.
of all the work that had to
When-
be put
when
in
was
initially.
that?
That was a year and a half ago
Yeah.
about now.
When we took it back.
And we took
Right.
it back, because the initial building, when we first went in there, and the facilities were
I remember
deplorable.
A mess.
saying.
So we were actually, I believe after the first year, I think we were able to,
Make up 100,000 of that, yeah.
yeah, I think it was close to
So the
that.
combination of both were in the hole? 200,000?
Yeah,
The first year.
Well, we were
First year.
stealing from Peter to pay Paul.
yeah.
So
But
the
we
ice
did
rink
not-
always made money.
Yeah, the ice rink always makes
We
money.
did not transfer money from the general fund. We did not transfer money from the general fund to cover that deficit. We let that fund continue to run in a deficit situation.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but we expected that we were going to be able to make it up shortly. Typically, the Auditor General, when he looks at our audit reports, doesn't like to see deficits like that, but under the circumstances, if it was something that was commented on, I'm sure we could explain it and they would not have an issue with it. Because typically, when you have deficits, they want to see them funded soon.
Right.
So we did know that we were going to make it up, at least a good portion of it in the first year, so we left it within that fund and we did not transfer any money from the general fund.
Correct.
Just to give you a little history on that, when we privatized that, we were either somewhere between 300 and 500,000 in the red, and there was a lot of building repairs and so on that we, the town council, felt that we didn't want to absorb at the time, so that's why we figured we privatize it with the first contract of the individual company owner to come in and do those repairs. Later on, that did not happen. Long story short, we ended up taking it back, and we still had to do all the repairs anyway. So that,
Well, we
that
got
was
quite a bit of money.
yeah, we got quite a bit. Don't get me
got-
wrong.
we got a
We got the
couple
new
$100
boards. We got the new boards. The original contract was pretty low. The second contract was about 125,000 a year. But again, anybody who's been paying attention to the history, things went south quick for that business, and when we and some of it was our fault because we didn't go in and inspect the property as landlords. We had a building official who didn't go up there at all. So now it's back in our hands. We can see it more often and have more control over it once again. I've been up there past couple of months. I don't get to see the hockey rink as much as I used to, but with my daughter out of hockey. But I heard she's coming out of retirement too. But again, a lot of parents always send us emails or whatever if there's any issues up there, or positive or negative. They usually send it to us real quick, and we get a lot of positive feedback up there. So it's and you'll see.
How's the turnout been for like the public skate?
It's been very good actually recently, yeah.
I
It's
know,
picked up a lot.
speaking to Lori, because I see she would post it on Facebook pictures, there'd be sometimes 50, 60, 70 kids.
Yeah, it's
in
crowded.
this.
Yeah.
It's $1. It's a great time for them. It's an hour and a half a week. This is, I guess, the final skating session. Are we keeping that open for the summer?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
This
because
is
that
the
was
first
something
summer.
also, that's the other thing too.
Extended hours are like the same.
Well, they probably won't have that much. They may have public skate. Who knows? But that was the other thing, Jay. What they didn't point out with that loss of revenue, they had to shut down all last summer.
Right.
And there are a lot of summer hockey leagues out there that these guys. Hockey is a very serious sport when it comes to some of these kids and adults. I think police chief is an ice skater back there. You still doing that, John?
Yeah, no, I haven't been up here in a while.
But they have adult leagues, kids leagues, and they play all year. It's kind of like as much ice time as they could possibly get.
Yeah.
Because there's not how many rinks like that are there in the state. There's not really that many.
Like-
Right?
Cranston stays open.
No, but there's not a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
what,
no.
Reed,
Ice
Reed is
Stevens.
North Smithfield.
Ice time is
Warwick.
Yeah.
Warwick's big.
Let me
few and
tell you,
far
if you had
between.
2 ice rinks up there, you do
You'd book
very
'em.
well. You
You'd
book it
book 'em.
right up. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, ice is
Well,
valuable.
still a
throughout
value.
the state.
Still, I mean, even
It's-
the
it's an
handful you said
asset.
it's valuable.
It's a
There's
big
not like a
asset.
ton of them around.
right.
The thing is, no matter where they put them, they'll always book up.
People travel, yeah.
You could put up another one and probably book
Well,
up.
still, let's put 5 of them up there.
Cranston did it with a dome and they booked up.
I probably should know this, but is there we have specific rates for in-town groups, out-of-town groups, forms they need to fill out?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have contract, we have rates. The local teams get preference for ice time. Local
Usually the high
teams
school team
teams
gets
with local
first
kids, yeah, the high school teams get the first crack. And
And
then,
anything up there.
the adult leagues usually pick up the the later slots by necessity. So it's, and, you know, our rates, you know, where we look at every year, first year we kept them pretty reasonable to get people back, because a lot of people left and didn't want to come back. Now that they're here, they're very happy with the product, and we're seeing, so we're ticking them up a little bit. But summertime rates will probably drop down a little bit because there's not as much competition, because aren't as many leagues running and things like that. So,
John, one other question on the
Book more
total.
time.
Right.
The rates will drop, but they'll book more times to
Correct.
keep it busy.
Yeah.
Right.
On the totals over here.
Yep.
You have 95,616,411.
Correct.
On the 5-year plan, 94,691,320. We're already $1 million over what we should be, and we're
Well, if you actually look at the state aid numbers budgeted for this year are actually higher than what the 5-year projection was. So that's where you're going to see.
Where are we over here?
For example, if you look at subtotal school aid, 24,228 compared to 22,500 was the projection for the state.
So you're getting $2 more million.
Correct.
in
So
revenue.
although you see,
Yeah, but where'd that 2 million? Where'd that 2 million disappear to?
what do you mean? where
school
it is?
department, it's dedicated.
Right.
We have no.
That's a pass through.
So your revenue, you're seeing a higher revenue, which is better for us. So when you're seeing the revenue side of it, you're seeing that you're getting a little under $1 million
All right, I
more
see
than
it
what you're
now.
expected to.
But then even on the town, the subtotal for the state aid, you'll see it's at 3,000,001. The projection for the 5-year was 2,000,007. So you will see that, you know, some of that increase is due to the fact that there's more state aid coming in. From a department revenue point of view, we're actually about $300,000 less than what they had. However, the 5-year plan had the Civic Center generating $128,000 because at the time of the 5-year plan, we were getting that money from the management company at the time. So that's why, you know, the 5-year plan is the basis that we've used, but that's why sometimes you will see some variations from it, as Fred has explained, you know, in the previous meeting when you had the question about the 5-year plan. So some of it does change.
I'd like to ask a question, David. On investment income.
Yep.
You've adopted a plan for 5, 5, and 5, and for the 5-year plan, it's $28,447. And last year, we only got $10,138.
Well, that's not last year, that's half the year.
That's half the year.
That's half the year, yes.
So you're talking
2,200
How much money do we have in, how much money are we investing there?
millions.
How much?
Yeah,
Millions.
I couldn't tell you the investment number off the top of my head because I have not worked for some time to actually have that number. As far as the 5-year plan, that estimate, I'm not even sure how they came up with that large
Where
amount
is
that
the
they have.
money now? Where is it being invested?
There's some accounts that we have at Centerville Bank that we've actually done some investments, but the investment returns and the investment rates have not been there.
Oh my God, you could go to Vanguard, the 500 index fund, and you'll get 11 and 12%.
Bert, don't get
Challenge with that is this is the cash on hand that we
Right.
have that
We
we
can't-
invest,
yeah,
so
we
we
can't
can't
access
invest it
it.
long term.
Yeah, we have to access
We
it.
need it in the short
So
term.
Bert, this is what they get quarterly. They put it in an account. That might collect interest of less than 1%. So, but they can't take that to Vanguard and go slap that in there
Correct.
because they'll be penalized for
money.
taking it out of there,
Yeah.
and they might need they need the money to actually
Bert, it's
pay the salaries and whatever else.
I
So-
think we were just talking about that Fred sewer plant. We got $10 million in one account that we can't invest, and I think we got $30 interest on it.
You're kidding.
No,
Yes, the short-term investments are not very good
it's
right now.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I know you put it in your checking.
I like to
What,
use it. I
Snapchat?
like to use it just for 1 year. I'll be retired.
But to your point, this investment income would be on the short-term cash that we actually have on
You can
hand.
hire a day trader.
It's
to
just the
trade
rates are
out
not
money.
there.
God.
Cash that you
You
have.
don't even have
That's
to. You don't
the
even
cash
have to
that
take
we
a
need
risk.
to utilize for operations,
make
whether it's
5
making
times- I make
payroll,
5% on that
paying
money,
the
like nothing.
accounts payable, or the vendors,
What is, they have to
and
use
so
it for
forth.
payroll.
Yeah, they
So
know
I-
it. The banks know it.
We had, it's estimated here for 5 years, $94,691,620. And we're,
It's not like it used to be.
according to the last
15%.
report, we're about $1 million short.
Where do you see the million?
That's not good.
Where do you see the million short?
Well, we have a 5-year plan of $94,691,620. $691, 300.
Yep.
And
He's saying the same thing I did.
It's
Yeah,
not
the word-
short.
that's not
It's
short.
revenue coming in, that's actually
It's
better.
extra.
It's higher
It's
than.
higher revenue.
Yeah, it's opposite than what we thought.
is it?
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
looked
But
the other
that's
way.
also included, that in here is also included a 3.75%
Correct.
increase in the
Correct.
levy.
Right.
So that means our growth plus tax increase brings you up to that 95 million. And
John.
we're still waiting for the final number, or the guesstimate on the growth.
Just for my understanding,
Yes.
what accounts for the library's revenue of 100,000?
Late fees.
Are those late fees, 5 cents a piece?
It's probably me every time I say we pay a membership.
I'm just
fee.
curious, like, in other words, is it through programs, or is it?
Well, you're referring
That's
to the
state-
library revenue miscellaneous?
That's
Yeah,
state
yeah.
aid for
Yes,
the
that's
library.
actually, we don't have a number in the budget because that's supposed to go into the library fund.
So that's not money we're getting from our library, this
No,
is money coming from the state.
Right, and then it's
for the
supposed to go to the library.
Okay.
The original 5-year plan had the library budget as well as the general.
Mhm.
So they included it on the expense and the revenue side, but they included on the revenue, they included on the general revenue, and it really should have been designated to the library. So we
Right.
have not budgeted for that
That's
because
more
it's a
money they
separate
got.
fund.
I see, the library got.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And even, there's also grant admin revenues, same type of situation. The 5-year plan out of 153, that's a separate fund. But at the time when the 5-year plan was presented, it included those amounts in the general, which it's just a matter of classifying it where it should be, and it should be in those separate funds.
Right.
Because they combined a lot of the items when they did the 5-year plan initially, or we did, when we worked on it jointly.
Yeah, 'cause they cap off those late fees, $5 per book. That's why we limit our $5 per time we go to the library.
That's smart.
See, some of those items I would have just kept off the budget document, but because it was in the 5-year plan, I didn't want to eliminate it, and then if someone went and looked at the 5-year plan, it wouldn't match up. So I've tried to keep anything, on here that has any numbers either in the previous year or as part of the 5-year
Right.
plan. So
And-
we
and
made
this
some
is,
changes.
This is a little bit off the topic, but I was curious. So when our rescue takes someone to the hospital, is that like reimbursed to us somehow through insurance, or is that just something we eat as part of a service that we provide?
So
There's different, in some cases the insurance companies pay, in some cases the person may need to pay. They receive a bill and they send it to the fire department.
Okay.
And then what ends up happening is a portion of that comes to the general fund, and a portion of it goes to that separate fund that I mentioned earlier, that can actually be used for the apparatus.
Okay.
It's, I want to say it's probably what, $1.3 million, $1.4 million total for the year, at least, the revenue.
1.2 change right now.
Okay. I was just curious. I wasn't sure
So
how
out of the 1.2, 900 comes to us, and the remaining amount stays in that designated fund. And we've actually come up with, right. There's also a fee involved with the collection.
Chief, that's right now, 1.2 we have, that's come in?
That's on an average per year.
My last statement, say March is gonna come onto that statement and go back 12 months, and that month's gonna fall off. Right now, within a 12-month period, we're at a $1.2 million.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And we've actually, as part of that separate fund, the chief and I have worked on, and we have some, a lease of a vehicle as well for a rescue that's gonna be
Yep.
paid out of that fund. So again, it doesn't have to come out of capital or out of the general fund. So I mean, that's a huge,
Yeah.
huge help to be able to not have to account for that here and have that fund handle it separately. And that's something that the chief came up with.
Feel free to give me a call, I can explain to you that whole plan.
Okay.
That we
David,
put
wasn't that
together.
a meeting about 6 months ago?
Okay.
Or 7 months ago with the town council? They had a big discussion about that. And if a resident, if he can't pay for
I
it.
just was having a discussion, we won't talk about that here, Bert.
But if a resident couldn't pay for it, that they would do it for nothing.
I can't comment on that, Bert. We had that discussion, I understand.
That was a big one.
What is
We can
QSCB
talk later.
study?
That's a subsidy that the federal government used to provide to the town to offset some of the cost of debt service for the QZAB.
For what?
For the bond, or it's actually referred to as QZAB. Qualified School Construction Bond is what it actually stands for. They used to actually, the federal government, until the sequestration that happened a few years back, they used to actually give us back that $54,000 to help offset the debt service payment that we make. However, they did away with that, so we no longer get the reimbursement, but we're still responsible for the debt service. You will see that same QZAB when we get to the actual debt service. You'll see there's a line item for the, I think it's approximately $200,000 that we pay a year. They used to reimburse us for that 54, which was like the interest. They no longer do that, but again, it was in the 5-year plan, so I needed to keep it, or I chose to keep it on the document to match up to the 5-year plan.
Any questions for John on this? Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Town clerk.
That is page 8. I didn't really change anything here.
Well, your budget's 65,000 higher than last year, so you must have changed something.
It's got that half position we talked about.
Right,
Yeah, that's only 30-something thousand.
There's I did put in, if you look at my justification for town clerk, the new item in there for me is the position, but also education. Per the union contract, employees can go to college and be reimbursed. And I have people in my office taking courses. Each course, as you look, is $960. There's approximately taking 5 per year when you're doing online college courses. That you don't have fall semester, winter semester, summer, and winter intersession. You go for like 9 weeks, you take a week off, you go for 9 weeks. So I budgeted 5 classes, and books are approximately $100 a semester.
So let me ask you something. This is something I should ask across the contracts. Is this education towards the job they're in?
Has to be job related.
Somehow it's an
Administration,
approved
both.
class
Or
of some type.
improvement into the town, like into a town position?
No, they're both in what government workers usually get degrees in. Public administration is one of them, and they're both in public administration degrees, getting public administration
Okay.
degrees.
Yeah.
No,
So,
and
like-
again, I don't, I understand the education portion, I just wanna make sure it's something that's gonna be.
Correct. It has to be,
to-
has to be related to their job.
Yeah,
And it has to be in that,
and hopefully they stay here,
right.
so.
Let me just go through, see what I raised, 321. Oh, there's nothing I can do about that. Pretty much everything else.
Is the copy machines, those are,
Those are on contract,
on contract, we pay for them, but they're maintenance free, they come out and fix them and all that?
5-year contracts, yes.
How much revenue do we get on those copy machines?
I couldn't tell you exactly. They're so, like the one out front for the public is so heavily used. I couldn't even begin to tell you the exact revenue. We
Okay.
bring in about $600,000 a year from my office, though, in revenue. I know that. And
Any questions for Mary Ann?
I was going to say, one of the big drivers of the increase, Dave, you'll notice that the adopted 17 budget didn't have a value for medical insurance, which
Yep.
was a mistake and oversight. So that's,
Yeah, it's 4,000
That's-
difference by looking at the bottom.
well, it's, yeah.
All right. Any questions for Mary Ann?
How much
You got
revenue
it.
did you say the copy machine brought in?
I don't know about the
She doesn't
copy
know the
machine. I
exact-
know in
Just the
total
total
we bring in
per
about
office.
600,000.
Total for the office,
The
okay, I
office.
was gonna say, that's a pretty impressive copy
That's
machine.
a copy machine that I want.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's get ice rinks and copying machines, and we're good.
Put one in every department, right?
yeah, let's get 2.
The other 2 small budgets that I do, just quickly, are probate and zoning, and they have, I do not believe, had any changes to them from last year. One is on page 11, no, let's see, 11 and 25.
11.
Yes, there's a new overtime, the board clerk, overtime for the board clerk, she's been being paid out of the
Are
town.
you on 11?
Yes.
No, I'm on the town clerks, I'm justifying
Oh.
that the zoning clerk, the overtime of $800,
Oh, she's on the justification page that's
Yeah.
after the clerk budget.
but if, that's why it's $800, you'll see, let me look at page 11 quickly. No, it's 25 for zoning. Only because we're paying her overtime out of the town clerk's office, and now we're out of overtime, so I put her, overtime, Did I put it in here?
We're on probate, right?
Yeah,
Overtime.
probate, yeah.
You're right, it's increased, but it's $1,000, that's what I'm correct, requesting for overtime, so it won't be making the town clerk budget short for the zoning clerk.
Okay.
That's the
So
only
now
thing.
we're on page 11.
Okay, page 11.
You have 71,000 last year, 73,000 this year. I don't know, let's see.
Medical insurance is 1,000.
Right.
Yep,
It's the benefits that are driving the
Yeah.
increase.
okay.
That's why you don't see, the probate court clerk now is paid out of our budget.
All right. Any questions on probate court? Would you say 25?
25 is zoning.
Zoning is really, what's the $400?
Which is where I was telling you about
Overtime.
the overtime. I added it into here.
Okay.
Clerk overtime, $1,000.
And it really goes on how many.
We touched on zoning a little earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Mary Ann? Thank you. Debt service?
30. Page 30.
It's tiny.
These are all our bonds, gentlemen, so the ones, and you'll see, in the beginning, it'll tell you what the bond is, and then it'll tell you when it's expiring. It's just
I
so
can't see it. There should be a little smaller.
Look at mine. It is smaller.
No, it ain't.
Yeah,
It's the same size.
Mine's tiny. Look. Is that smaller?
No, it's the same
It's
size.
about the
Look
same
at it,
size.
I'm getting old.
Yeah, this is basically the debt,
Man.
all the debt that the town has currently outstanding, so to speak, and these are all the debt payments. Previous budgets, the reason why it was larger was because we didn't have the full description as well as the years that it was going to be ending. We did feel over the last couple of years that it's best for the council to know which bond, you're actually looking at and reviewing, and also when it's going to end for planning purposes. Biggest change from last year is that we now have, it's the very last line item, it's the wind turbine debt, which we mentioned earlier, that was used to be budgeted towards the electricity payment. Now we've shifted it from, instead of paying the electrical bill, we now pay the debt on the actual turbines applicable to the use that the town has. This number is an estimate at this point because we're still in the process of permanently financing the remaining 2 turbines. And what we're actually doing is all of the different departments or / agencies or whoever's using or benefiting from the electricity it's been generating, like the wastewater facility, the library, we're also going to do it for them as well, and the school department, we're taking the total debt service payment and distributing the cost of the debt service to those different areas based on how much they actually consume for electricity,
Let me ask
because
a
there's still some consumption.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Because that wind turbine that came down in South County, I forget where. No, but I'm saying,
Don't
for
compare
example,
that one to that one.
No, but I
Answer.
know.
Yeah.
But we're. I know. I remember you mentioned this. In case something like that happens, we're covered for
Yes,
while
we have,
they're repairing that.
yeah, we
correct?
have full
That was
insurance
like an
and
erector set,
coverage.
that one
Yeah.
that went down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a. I'm
That
sure
was
it's an
an
anomaly,
erector
but
set,
just
the
in
one
case
that
something
went
were
Yeah,
to happen.
yeah, we are absolutely covered.
We have coverage. We also have, if they're not producing a certain amount
Yep.
because of whatever reason, not other than Mother Nature. And I don't think there's anything that's, if it's just not a windy season, I don't think we have
get paid
anything
now.
there. But we actually have some compensation that we would actually receive. And what we're actually doing is we have and will continue to create a separate fund for the accounting of all those different ins and outs. And what we'll do is the amount that will be in the budget will just be the general fund's portion applicable to all of those individual costs. It'll go into that separate fund, and then all of the contributions from those different agencies and departments will also go into that separate fund, and then all the expenses will be paid out of it. So it keeps it clean, it keeps it out of the general fund, it keeps it basic and simple. And that would be another fund that we would include, as the council president asked earlier, to start to account for it. The first couple of years of operations, I mean, we're dealing with some estimates, not just for the consumption, but also some of the costs. And I'm not sure if, I did speak to Adam the other day, it sounds like the infrastructure bank might actually look to do one more turbine. We currently
Still waiting to hear.
for the final word, but the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank did permanently finance one of them for us with the last application a few months back, and there's a potential where they may actually help us with permanent
It's
financing.
a big savings for us because their
We have-
rate's much
The
better.
rates are lower.
John, I know you and your department, Fred, you guys do a good job of getting those rates. there's been a couple of times I was signing some paperwork and asking if you can run my mortgage through there, because it's
Yeah,
better.
2.5%, I think, the
Yeah,
last one.
We're talking multi-million-dollar loans at
Right.
2.5%.
And I have to give a shout out, for lack of a better way of saying it, to Webster Bank, because they stepped up from day one with the wind turbine program.
Webster?
Yeah, Webster.
What they
Great.
initially did was they initially gave us a bond anticipation
18
note
million.
for $18 million to actually get the project started so we could get built. And we had an extremely low rate on that. We had them staggered because we were hoping to maybe permanently financing one and then do the rest. Then when we actually rolled it, they gave us an additional amount for two of the turbines of $12 million at a rate of like 2.5. That's far below anything permanently financing. So we've been able to save some additional money by them actually helping us not only get them erected and paid for. So that definitely is something that has helped. And the less we've spent up front will allow us to, once we permanently finance it, we can also save some additional money. So at this point, we're still pulling together those numbers and still coming up with the estimates, but I wanted the council to be familiar with how we were going to separate the individual costs to all the different departments that are benefiting from it. Wastewater's, I want to say, about 33 to 34% of what we actually consume and produce is actually going towards wastewater, so they'll have a big chunk of the debt service as well.
So
School
come
department.
is June, the end of the fiscal period?
Yes.
Will you have a number of what we're giving back going towards this year?
We should have some.
Yeah.
We should have some good numbers, at least for the permanent financing, to know
And
what the cost is.
Will that get paid every June towards taking this debt down?
What we'll do is we'll have it be included in the general fund, and then once the general fund budget is approved, we'll transfer that full amount to that separate fund and then pay the debt service out of it. But we'll actually have, for this year, this is just an estimate of 400, but as we get closer to having the permanent financing, if we see that number is only 350, then that's all we would look to take, in which case then we'd have an extra 50,000 that would
The year
potentially
anniversary,
save.
when did they officially go? Was it
August 5th.
August 5th is when they went.
August. But it's some of it is the timing of when these payments have to be made and everything else. But we're going to look to, just like with some of the other departments, they've asked, they've approached and called us and said, okay, well, how much do I budget for this debt service payment? We told them to keep the same as what they were paying for electricity at this point to have a budget, and then once we
we get a year or
finalize those
two.
numbers,
Yeah.
then we can tell them, okay, well, you know what?
Yeah.
You can save another 25 because you're.
The performer that we did was based upon electrical usage at the time, so we came up with an estimate number. That's what we backed into, saying we could do this. But the numbers we used for debt service, we estimated 5%. We were very conservative because we wanted to make sure we had more than enough. So, like the first one, I think it's 2.
It was the initial
7.5. No, for the infrastructure bank, the first funding one was that 7.5 or 2.5? I can't remember.
I think it might have been 275.
So, so obviously a lot of savings there when you're talking about $6 million, and then this next one will probably be a little bit higher because the rates have gone up a little bit, but still going to be lower than 5% substantially. So, we're going to see that savings over the long haul, and as that account builds up, it'll just be less that all the players that are participating in this would have to pay in the long run.
Thank you.
We have one bond, looks like expiring in 2018.
Yeah.
$248,000. That's our last year on that
Yep.
one. All right. Any
And
questions?
this does include it. You include, as you next to the second one from the bottom, the equipment leases that we did last year for some of the DPW equipment. So leases would be included here as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for John on debt service? Thank you. Which one would be best, general government or capital? Let's go to general.
14.
This is all the good expenses.
14.
14.
Yeah, there are.
At the very bottom.
Maybe we don't want you to know what's going on.
You can find those at the Easter egg hunt on April 15th.
They're in the blue eggs.
It's in aisle 3. Aisle 3, section 5.
The biggest change in the general government line items is the pension. the unfunded, what we call the unfunded portion of the pension. What we did beginning last year when we allocated the benefits, we took the normal cost, which would be basically if the pension had been funded as it should have been over the years, what the normal cost would be for the employees in each of the departments. So we took the normal cost, put it into the various departments, but rather than having an additional $6 million go to those departments for the unfunded portion, we thought it would be best to keep it in the general government. So each year, as that normal cost and the required contribution changes, we'll reflect the normal cost in the departments, and we'll have the additional amount within the general government here. One of the things to point out that used to be, and you'll see in previous years for the actuals, you'll see the health insurance, you'll see the dental insurance. Those items used to be here as well, but we've now shifted them over starting last year into the various departments. So you no longer see amounts for them, but being that there have been previous year actuals, we thought it'd be best to keep it on here for the council's
And just real quick for those of you that, John was talking about the pension allocation going up. If you look at page 2, it has the graph and the distribution of the other portions of that total pension contribution that we pay, so you can see the full amount.
What page is that?
Page 2?
Page 2.
Oh, 2.
That's a good point, Fred. I missed that, sorry.
that's
So basically, the total recommended contribution is 9.26 million, and of that, the general government has the 6.73, as I mentioned. The departments have 510,000 of that, and then you can see school, wastewater, and library to make up the full amount. So if anybody was to actually take the actuarial report and see that the contribution was 9.26, and then look at the general fund and see only the 6.7, they would wonder where the difference is. So we include this in the budget document so someone can actually see where the total contribution is coming from. But you can see, the significance of the unfunded portion. Your pension cost would be $510,000 for the year if it was fully funded.
And that pension contribution has really helped our bond rating
Yes.
over the past year.
Absolutely.
Pension contribution as well as the OPEB, post-employment benefit contribution and trust fund that was, or trust account that was established through the interlocal trust. Those were two key items that the rating agencies did take into consideration when they've made some of the changes.
John, I'm going to throw this out there, only because we don't know what growth is yet. How important is the OPEB?
To stop making any contributions to it would be a bad thing, would be detrimental.
Let's say half.
It's not required by the contracts, it's not required by the state, it's not required by anyone. However, you need to be wise in putting something into it. It is approximately 1.4 million balance right now, and we have no intention on drawing on that, so we do have a good nest egg. It's something that should not be done on a regular basis, but if you're in a jam to reduce it some, if you had to, you could, but it would be prudent to continue to put something into that year over year for a lot of different reasons.
Out there because I don't know what
one of the
growth is,
biggest,
I don't know what the intention
right,
of the council is.
Understood. One of the biggest things to realize about that OPEB trust fund, eventually, when you get to a point 5 or 10 years from now, and it's built a good nest egg, there could be an opportunity at that point to then have the retiree medical claims, which are currently in general government, and run us about 1.6 million per year. There's an opportunity potentially that when that builds up enough to not have to have that 1.6 in the general fund budget, because you can actually draw from that trust fund. So it's something that can help down the line.
How much are we underfunded on the OPEB?
It's about 50
something million?
Yeah, I think it's in the 50s.
Yeah, it's the
So how much of a dent are we putting in on it?
You're putting $500,000.
Well, the difference,
yeah, but it's not.
Difference in the OPEB.
You're not taking $500,000 off the.
No,
in 10 years, you say 50 million. It's not. It's like 30 years, and you're still not even halfway there.
It doesn't work that way
because unlike the pension, we don't pay anything out of this right now. This is just money going in. So whereas the pension we draw, so we're drawing about $9 million a year
where
just to
nothing
pay
gets taken out of
benefits
this.
right now
Yeah.
from that same account we're putting into, nothing gets taken out of this.
But
This only grows.
And the other big difference between the pension and the OPEB, we currently pay the retiree claims as we go.
Correct.
So as they are incurred, we pay them. So where there's a recommended contribution for the OPEB, similar to the pension, although it's much less, when we pay the claims, we get credit for paying those claims.
Right.
So although we're not putting in the recommended contribution, the full recommended contribution, by paying the claims of the 1.5, 1.6 million, you're not adding to the problem, you're keeping it,
You're keeping it level.
you're keeping it level.
We're just maintaining.
Well,
That's all you're doing.
yes and no. It's
Well,
good
you're
that
not-
it's good, you're not drawing on something that's
Right.
not there.
You're maintaining.
You're not decreasing the assets like you're doing with the pension, because.
The only thing we're not maintaining is our tax level. We're up here. And that is gonna continue to fly.
So the 500,000 is extra.
It's a
If
pre-funding.
you wanna say that.
It's a pre-funding,
Correct.
It's a pre-funding, right now there's.
a recommended pre-funding by the actuaries
Okay.
to deal with the liability that we have for retiree benefits.
And that OPEB trust that I mentioned is specific, and it's a legal document that requires it. Any payments, once we get to the point where we decide to start to pay some of the claims, it's very restricted. It's not like any of that money that's being put aside from this budget or any of the budgets going into that is gonna be used for something else. You can only use it for retiree claims. So it is very specific, and it's
And
limited.
And this was also in, kind of like in the medical budget,
Mhm.
where they wouldn't use it, we would have extra money in there at the end of the year. How would that be dispersed? That was, tell me
Talking about
about
the
how that scenario
Goes
was.
into the internal service fund that
Right.
we've set up.
So you guys set up, so what happened was, what would happen, and I'll just, no, I'm not picking on any particular department, but let's say the fire department had $300,000 left in their healthcare they didn't use, or claims they didn't use. Well, they could shift that money around and go do what they want with it, or the school department was a specific one.
Right.
Where they did not use, they had like a $1 million surplus for healthcare. Well, now we set this designated fund for that, so now that's not in everybody's budget, and you're not seeing that influx of surpluses in certain people's budgets. And specifically, there was a big one in the school department side.
Yeah.
Basically we do have the departments that have that expense, but that expense is the amount that's going to be transferred from the general fund into that designated fund, and then that's where the claims were paid out of. Whereas in the past, as the council president just mentioned, if the school department, for example, had budgeted $4 million for claims, but only $3 million were actually paid out, they paid the $3 million out of their school account, and that other $1 million that was in their budget created a surplus for them. That's not the way you should handle a self-insurance or the separate fund like we have, because now you've got one-time savings, and in the following year it's an issue. So now we have a separate fund, and the contributions, similar to what I mentioned with the wind turbine, all those contributions come from those various areas, go into that internal service fund, and at some point in time that internal service fund has a surplus. You could actually take some of that money and shift it to the OPEB, and then reduce your OPEB pre-funding amount if you wanted to. And that's one of the things that we've talked about doing as well, because it was put aside for medical purposes, for medical claims. Why not, if it does run a surplus, help your OPEB out? And it's all long-term planning that we're trying to do, and the credit agencies see what's going on and see all these things that the council have done and things that have been included in the budget, and that's one of the things that they value, because it's long-term planning.
Do we have a surplus now, do you think?
In the self-insurance fund?
Coming up, are we going to have if say we had we only spent $3 million on this, and we budgeted for $4 million, we have $1 million left for this fiscal period, this current fiscal period.
From 2016, 17.
Yeah, do we have any type of savings like that right now?
Well, no, in the medical side of it, we don't, because what we do is we actually transfer the money that's budgeted over to that separate fund, into that separate medical insurance fund. The medical insurance fund, a couple of years back, was running a surplus. Unfortunately, with this last year, claims were higher, so there's no longer a surplus within that internal service fund. But when the claims were higher, the general fund or the school department or whoever the claims were running higher from didn't have to go to their budgets and transfer money, because there was a surplus there.
So it's a year-by-year basis.
It is.
Where we'll be able to tell if we have that, say, $500,000 extra.
Correct.
3 budget cycles from now, this may be zero. So we could utilize that money.
Right, if you could
Correct.
potentially utilize a self-insurance fund. But again, it doesn't have a built-in factor
Right,
to
yeah.
account for additional OPEB, but if the claims come in lower than what was expected, then yeah, it would be a surplus.
Okay.
Now, we're still waiting on the final numbers from the company that prepares our working rates. At this point, we've used 8% for an increase in medical, but until he gives us those final numbers and until we have the final working rates and see what the claims are, we can't really plan for anything from that self-insurance fund.
And not only
Okay.
that, self-insurance has its pros and cons. One of the cons is if you end up with a major, let's say a rough pregnancy or a very terminal cancer or something to that extent, it can cost the town a lot of money.
Right.
And it's one thing if you get one, but it's when you start getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of major issues. And with over, how many employees? 400 employees total?
If you go across to the school department or just us?
Skip to our side.
Yeah.
About 250.
250. You know, we just don't know. Then schools puts us at
A little over 300.
a little over 300, right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure 550 employees in town, anything could happen. Plus, you take those 550 employees and you look at spouses, children, and whatever else. You just don't know what can come your way.
And I'm gonna mention with the Obama law that time when transvestites, you pay for their operation. It's a fact, it's not.
It's still
not a
there
joke.
now.
It's there.
And
If whatever it costs,
Councilman Angela Padula.
we have to pick it up. You're not going for that operation, are you, Jay?
They go together. They'll still have a quorum.
All right, let's go.
Just speaking
No,
of the
but I'm
claims.
just saying, that's where you would be,
No, I'm in
I mean, it's a fact. It's not,
To
it's
me,
not
that's
meant to be
health
a
issue,
joke.
But that's just my opinion.
No, it's not, but we have to
We've
go
had
by
this
it.
discussion, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that road.
Speaking of large claims, we do actually have stop loss insurance that covers if the claims do go over a certain threshold. We get some reimbursement. We pay a fee for that. But even the first part of what we actually have to pay, you get a few of those in a year. It can throw off your claims numbers, which I believe is what happened with the school department last year. But again, at least it's in a separate fund, and you don't have to then all of a sudden now, well, wait a minute, we've got this year the claims were $1 million higher, and now we got $1 million deficit within the general fund.
Yeah.
You've got that separate fund.
I mean,
That's the way
ideally,
things should be.
we'd like to see the internal service fund build up to $1 million plus as a buffer for those bad years. If we got really lucky and say it went up to like 2 million or 3 million, then the council can say, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to allocate some of that money to the OPEB to bring that down. But it's got to be dedicated for benefit use.
Okay, any questions on this?
Yeah, John, what is the telephones? 100 grand, what is that?
That's the cost of the equipment rental that we have. We actually had to replace the phone system a year and a half ago, I want to say. And at that time, rather than actually purchasing all the equipment, we actually entered into a contract to have the equipment be leased as well as the services. So that's basically the lease of the equipment and the services.
And
Telephone services.
the consulting, what are we using consulting for? I know it was 365 in 14, then it went to 88, 74, 40, now it's 40. What are we using consultants?
In some cases, it might be engineering services. I believe.
In 14, it was the Department of Revenue was
Correct.
a big piece
Yep,
of that. So
definitely.
when we had to pay for the Department of Revenue employee to be here every day and keep all the data as we were going through the negotiations, that was that bill.
Remember that giant Excel spreadsheet?
Yep,
Yeah.
certainly do.
450
Now
tabs.
what it's for is for what were you saying? It includes
Engineering and stuff?
Yeah, if we have engineering or any professional services or consulting that that may come up during the year that we do need or do need to utilize. Actually, I should have labeled that differently as well, because we've also anticipated the CRM system from being paid out of that line item as well, which I believe was about $15,000 per year.
Workers' comp.
Yep.
What is that? That's everything that we pay?
That's basically the payments that we have to pay to the trust. You'll see the number is low compared to what we've actually been spending, and we've been talking with Karen, the HR director, to try to see what we can do to better manage that number.
So what I've seen in other businesses, they have like this thing on the wall that says we were accident free for 1 day or 365 days.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is, and it has to be a town, it'd have to be a town employee-wide scenario to save ourselves $350,000. In other words, maybe give some sort of incentive at the end of the year for the employees for going 365 days of injury-free. I mean, it'd probably save us a lot of money by going injury-free for 365 days a year. And I think that incentive could actually save us a lot of money if you want to look into something like that. I mean, do you guys see it in some other places?
I don't know how it works with incentive stuff for that. How does that work?
Well, we'd have to discuss it.
Discuss, like, for instance,
But you got 250 employees.
yeah, you got
So it would have to
250
be everybody.
employees.
So-
It would have to be everybody.
I
But
mean,
if
you
you
can't give them $5 for the year.
No, but 250 employees, you said if you went accident-free, you give every employee $500 at the end of the year, you're still ahead
Yeah,
250,000.
but if one like.
One, you lose it, sorry, you
Lose
go.
it all.
But an accident's an accident.
Accident's an accident, I understand that.
Yeah, but how many
people
times you
spend
hurt?
more
How many
time-
times you hurt yourself and you say, I'm
How
not
many
going to the
times
hospital for this?
you got a hangnail and you
Yeah.
go to the hospital?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, with that type of incentive, say $500 an employee, there'd be more people being more safety conscious, is what I'm saying. Accidents do happen, unfortunately.
Do you
yeah,
think you
might
run the
not
risk
get
of
it.
somebody not going to get medical
Somebody might
attention?
do it out of spite, who knows?
No, you're right. Do you think somebody would not do it to avoid like?
We do it at the DPW, we got the board, the whole 9 yards. If they go 3 months, we throw a big breakfast for them.
Looks like you had quite a few of them, Dave.
I didn't hear that.
Thanks, Freddie.
Freddie must be his ears.
You're all right, Freddie. You can hear a lot when you're standing up.
No mirrors in your house, Chuck?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of them, Dave, believe me. That's why I'm teasing you. I had a few myself.
And one other item I just wanted to point out as well.
He's older than me, though.
The very last line of the general government, we did include $250,000 and we labeled it fund balance. That's basically to put money back into the general fund balance because of the fact that we've had the deficits for the last couple of years. It's $250 compared to what the deficits have been, but again, we really need to stop being mindful of that general fund balance, especially given what Jim's presentation about the audit and so forth. So again, that's something that should be done because we need to get that to a safe balance or to a decent balance. We did that a couple of years back, not in 16, but 2015. And it actually,
we tried.
We tried. It actually helped to offset the fact that we had a deficit that year. But again, it's trying to plan. That's the key because there are unforeseen things that do happen, whether it's snowstorms or workers' comp that comes up, whatever it may be.
Is this where I know a lot of people have been asking, I know the council's been asking me, what portion of this would be a $50,000 per award?
That was capital.
That would be in capital.
Yeah, that was separate. We had that separate in a separate capital account.
All right,
Or
any other
capital
questions
budget.
for John on this one? Let's move to capital. I think that's gonna be the biggest one.
What page is that?
31.
Oh, I see it.
Is it 31?
31, yes.
This is our expenses. So we got 549,000 in capital.
Well, I do need to make a correction because in speaking with Chief Magara today, he had made a correction with John on the grant numbers, I think, were overestimated. And but the change didn't make it to this before John had to go out, so it's not reflected. So his number should be 142,207 instead of 82.
142.
207 as
207?
yeah, as his request number, and then we can discuss it from there. But just so you know what
So
he's asked for.
60,000
Yep.
more?
Yep.
So it'd be 609,883? All right, let's see what the wish list is.
Attached behind page 31, you'll actually see a summary by department of the amounts for the last few years. And then you'll also see after that summary page, you'll see the individual departments that actually have the items that make up the amounts that are indicated on that initial page 31.
Over the past, Chief, I know I'm gonna put you on the spot. Yeah, Chief, again, go over the police real quick. Police fleet, normally we get a list of what we have for our fleet, but how many new cars have we bought over the past 5 years?
So with we're in the 4 years have been completed. So we roughly brought 3 patrol cars each year.
So we have 12.
So 12 of the black
So
patrol
we have
cars.
12 that are black.
Yes, sir.
How many officers do we have on any given shift?
So we basically.
Patrol officers?
Yeah. Counting a patrol supervisor, we use from 5 to 6 cars a shift.
So can we go without any cars this year? Is a
Well,
question.
with the plan that we've had, it's been working out very well. I would say we shouldn't not purchase the cars again. We're roughly 2014 being the first year, so that we purchased the new blacker cars that you see. And currently, right now, they're averaging that series of vehicles are averaging 75,000 plus. So with that being said, most police departments have, across the country, some of them have stipulations where if their car gets to a certain point, they replace it. We don't have that here. But that average is roughly 75 to 100,000 that they're, mandatory replacing their vehicles. Most of the bigger cities and what have you. I mean, with that being said, the main reason that we started this was our fleet was in dire need. We're almost at the point where we have all the patrol cars, the newer black model. What has happened since then, we've improved, obviously. We've saved money in our fleet maintenance. Obviously, newer cars, less maintenance. We've been able to transfer a lot of the older cars that were replaced into our detail account, which you folks spoke about earlier. So that has benefited us immensely with Chief Silva's program of using the detail account. And this past year, from capital, the year prior rather, we used $78,000 from that detail account to help with the purchase of our vehicles, which is quite a bit of money. We also used roughly just under 10 for one vehicle that was totaled that we were able to, from insurance that we got back from the trust and what have you, we were able to use that fund to make up the difference that we lost from, that wasn't covered fully by insurance for the car. We also use that detail account fund for, obviously, we send some money back to fleet maintenance and to fuel because we are using those cars. They're still getting in need of some repairs. Obviously, they're the older cars, as well as they're using fuel when they're on the details. So we kind of will shift some money from there into fuel as well as into fleet maintenance. So with that being said, I mean, the biggest problem right now with our fleet, although our patrol cars are probably at the 70 percentile of being in great shape, our detective fleet, which we're just about ready to start increasing that because of the newer cars being all completed into the patrol division, is in dire straits. We've lost 2 recently, one just from body rot and being unable to pass inspection, and the second one similar circumstances. So hopefully, if we can again purchase new vehicles, which is our, obviously the main reason I explained the mileage and what have you, but I mean, public safety, officer safety, our biggest standpoint is our patrol car. I mean, that's our office. Although we use 6 roughly a day, a shift, they run, we try to stagger them obviously, but they run 24/7. And it's not so much the mileage. I'm telling you that the 2014 fleet right now is at 75,000 miles. If you compared the hours of the engine running compared to your normal car where you guys, normal people will drive to work, their mileage is basically what their resale value comes at our cars, although it has 75,000 driven miles on it, the engine wear and what have you is just twice that because they're running. You know, when we're sitting at accident scenes, when we're sitting monitoring traffic, I mean, the vehicles are just running a large portion of the day. So to answer your question, we really would benefit us. I mean, again, being officer safety, we're getting to that point where we're finally getting a good fleet again. We don't want to stop that to prevent anything.
John, you said you use 5 to 6 cars a shift.
Yes, sir.
So when the first shift gets off, the 5 to 6 cars go to the second shift. And then they'll go to the third shift. So you're only using 6 cars in the course of a day.
No, because we don't want to run one car 24 hours a day. So basically with, right now we have, I want to say 12, in the patrol division, roughly 13 of the black cars. So we'll
you
use,
have 13
right,
new.
so yeah, so we'll basically
Yeah, you
try to
stagger.
give 6 off, 6 on, 6 off, 8 hours, 6 on, and keep staggering them.
Now, all them white cars over here, you have about 40 of them. What are them being used for?
Okay, so
I mean, people, the first thing they say,
no,
how many cars
absolutely,
does this department
and
have?
that's a great question. Although I'm telling you, we're using 6 patrol cars roughly. Now, Monday through Friday during peak season, we have at least another 8, sometimes 15. I don't have the exact number, but with details, and that's where we're making our money into that detail account.
Use some of them for
They're-
details.
they're-
Yeah,
that's-
the older cars.
Those older cars are basically for details. Now, mind you, if we have a special event where we need more cars, we obviously use them. We still have 3 that we use regularly, that hopefully we'll be able to move into not only details, but like I said, our worst part right now is our detective fleet is dwindling. And we need, they lost 2 of their 7 cars are gone. So we're down to 5 where we're already shorthanded there.
Chief, out of the 125 you have here for the police fleet, 60,000 of that is coming from the detail fund.
So so if you look at our total amount for our capital is roughly 222,000, I believe.
No.
214.
Thank you, 214. Then so the 60,000 comes from that, if you look at the bottom. So you'll take 60,000 from details. There's 12,785 from a JAG grant. So if you subtract that 70 from that, we're requesting 140. We may be able to, I was talking with Fred actually earlier today, I just got a printout of our detail account. It is slightly higher. We did have some more details than we expected this winter, so it was able to increase a little bit. So we may be able to juice up the 60,000 a little more.
What is the cars average? 30,000, 35,000?
That would be a good guesstimate. So if you're looking at our 14 cars, they're probably the end of 14. So 15, 16, 17, they're at 75. So they're 25 to 30,000.
A piece?
Yes, sir.
So with your 60,000, or if you beef that up, that's 2 cars.
Correct.
And you're requesting 4 cars.
We always buy, since the 4 years, we've purchased 4. So what we have done is we have 3 cars go to patrol and 1 car goes into administration. So the detective captain, majors, myself, we're now at that point where that next 2 car will actually be able to go to detectives.
Now,
So that will help that fleet.
The detective's car, what does that entail?
As far as usage?
Not usage, equipment-wise.
None.
Well,
radio.
The back seats don't come out,
No.
there's no cage in them.
So what we would like to do this year, looking like the 4th car, which has been the administrative car, maybe instead of purchasing a brand new car, be able to split that 26, roughly $30,000, to maybe buy 2 used Ford Tauruses or something that we can get through different lots to make up for the 2 that we just lost. But with that being said, we have to have a radio. We do have our portables we can put in there. But most of the cars, if we dress down one of the older patrol cars and ship it to detectives, kind of already has a radio in it. But they do have, lights as well, because they do respond to calls. I mean, they don't, stop cars and what have you, unless it's an extreme.
Well, they got the strobe lights, right? You're not
They're
gonna have
already
the
kind of
bulbs,
in there,
the
right?
beacons.
Unless, like I said, we buy one of a used Ford Taurus, we may have to put a set of, lights in there as well.
Yeah, that's only in the bulbs and the strobe
Correct.
system. It's a,
Yes, yep.
it's a kit.
Mm-hmm.
Bert?
Mr. President, has the council or the town manager or the chief, have they looked into buying, this new Bolt and satellite that gets 230 miles to a charge? I drove one of those cars down at Indianapolis.
We had,
And they're really something. And you get a $7,000 a rebate on your taxes if you buy one of them.
Well,
That car,
we don't pay taxes, so we don't get the rebate, but
and they're about $30,000.
Yeah.
But there is no maintenance.
what happened to our green cars we had? We had a couple,
yeah,
right?
there's still maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
There's,
The batteries let go, they're big bucks.
No motors, there's no,
there's a motor. It's just an electric motor.
yeah, but you don't change the oil, no plugs.
It still has oil. It still
It
has.
doesn't have oil, not the Bolt. The only thing you have to put on that is brakes and tires and, flush out the radiator once in a while, and that's for the air conditioning. But it's a wonderful car.
No, absolutely. We're actually.
Yeah.
I'll beat any car.
We actually have two electric vehicles as part of this capital proposal.
For the police?
No, for inspection vehicles, because they're just not up to
We haven't,
standard yet for
Yeah.
police vehicles.
we have not. I'm sure, I can check nationally, Bert, I haven't looked into it, but I can just tell you, I've been a police officer for 26 years, and there's always been that new car for police, and you guys all know. What car, yeah, what car do you see the majority of the time? It's there was always the Ford Crown Victoria. I mean, then they came out with the Capris, a few departments went with them, they didn't last long. The Dodge Chargers, a few departments went with them, they didn't last long. I mean, that car is just, and now they have the new Ford Taurus that they use, and mainly the main vehicle we buy of the 3 patrol, we usually get that utility vehicle that you see now. It's just the wear and tear, Bert. I know that you're saying there's no maintenance, but our cars run 24/7. They're just not your, convenient car that you want to get great gas mileage and go from here, to work to save money. Great in a perfect world, but those cars take a beating and they would just not be cost efficient.
You're gonna work with charging as well.
Charging, yeah.
So
I mean, something we could look into. I'm sure the national has.
Aren't we putting the chargers in over the?
we are. I was just gonna get to. So we have received approval for a grant from Office of Energy Resources that'll pay for 2 charging stations. One will be right below me here, Town Hall,
Yeah, it was on my Coventry page.
which will be a level 2, and the other one will be over at the Civic Center, which will be the highest level charger for all the new cars like the Bolt and some of the others. And we also have approval for, they're not tax rebates, but they will give us $7,500 per car towards the purchase of the cars.
Who's gonna use them?
The building officials will use them for inspection vehicles. And again, we won't be paying anything for gas, which is great because the turbines will be dealing with that. So building definitely will be using one of them for minimum housing inspections. And we're looking at the other one to be one of the shared vehicles between the other departments that go out. Tax assessors as an example, because they do a lot of inspections.
Is it just ours, or are they like public ones? Because I know Coventry
No,
got.
it'll be ours.
Because Coventry got the one, I think, over at like the town hall, where they got a similar grant where where the town was making so much. I don't know how much money they were making. It's not one of those kind. It's just for us.
In terms of
the town Coventry, I don't know all the details, but they got one at the town hall.
Are you talking about the charger or the car?
The charger, not the car.
Okay, no, the chargers have to be available to anyone.
Okay.
Okay.
But people have to pay. If somebody, like if I had an electric car,
No.
it's not a charge.
We're not going to charge people to charge. But the one at the town hall will be available during the day when our vehicles aren't charging, but overnight only town vehicles be parked there. So that'd be the designation there. The one up at the Civic Center would be available to whomever. That's going to be a fast charger. So the level 2, if the battery was dead, it would take about 4 hours to get a full charge. You take it up to the Civic Center one, it could charge it in about 30 to 40 minutes. So that's the difference, full charge. So, but again, the fast charge ones, not all of all the cars that are available can handle the fast charge yet. So that's something we'll look at when we look at which vehicles to purchase.
Have you put any bids out for electric cars yet, or?
The state has an MPA for all of this, so we don't have to put bids out. So there are MPAs for the Chevys, for the Nissans, and I want to say one other brand, but there's like 6 models that we can choose from, all in the MPA. They've already done all the bidding. Same thing with the charging stations; they've all been bid. So all we have to do is select from the list.
How long does a full charge last? A car?
It's really about distance traveled. So
230 miles.
West Warwick is 8 square miles. So an inspection vehicle can pretty much go all day.
I'm going to tell you something right now. My wife doesn't leave West Warwick, and she's put on my leased car over 15,000
Yeah,
miles.
it adds up so fast.
It's only a 12,000 mile lease, so it's amazing.
That's why we're going to try this out with a couple of cars. So the idea is that ideally we would electrify the fleet over time because we have renewable energy now, but we want to try it out and see how practical it is. So we'll start with a couple.
And buy American.
So basically, I mean, you have what you have in front of you. Like I know there was a 10-year plan that we laid out to try to keep purchasing the vehicles at the 10 years that would replace all the patrol cars, all the detectives' cars. And I did have the $60,000 there. We could probably increase that from the detail account to 70. I mean, I completed that when we got it ready for the planning board to approve it. And since then, we were able to have some income.
Now the radio system, just give me an update on that because
Okay.
we've been putting a lot of money towards the radios the past few years.
Yeah, but wait, let's not get off the cars right now. He's got 65,000 for 2 cars, 25,000 a car, 25 to 30. So if we play the difference on 3 cars, it's only gonna cost us 5 or 10,000, not 130. And that'd be 3 new cars, and you wouldn't be hurting the budget, and you wouldn't be sacrificing, not buying any vehicles at all. So he's got enough, John's got enough, the chief's got enough for 2 cars, and then some. And we make the difference for the 3rd car. Just,
Well, there's 4
we don't know
total.
where we're going with this budget, so just.
That's why I'm trying to put a contingency plan together right now, and that's why I'm asking these questions.
Just
because
something to find.
As I'm writing down my notes, and this council says that we need to cut $1 million next week, I want to make everybody clear, there's got to be some sort of plan and where we're getting it from.
But there's 4 total, Councilman Padula, not 3.
He's got in his budget 4 cars.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yes.
4 cars, so if worse comes to worse, we eliminate one for you, we're gonna save there if we need to save
Correct.
on certain things. I'm not saying,
No, I got you.
you know what,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, if we need to.
Correct. No, I understand. I thought you
And-
said 3 total, but
And
you're
just
saying.
think, if the budget goes down,
Mhm.
the budget fails, no matter if the council agrees to it or not. If the budget goes down, we gotta go back to this thing and start cutting again. So,
Correct.
we're just making notes where we know where we could find money that we don't really, it's not a matter of life and death where we can find it.
No, I understand. I heard you say 3. I thought you meant 3 vehicles
No.
total.
I just want to go over radios real quick, because I know we've been putting a lot of money into communications. It should be pretty well.
Well, and of course, I mean, I'm not the biggest computer guy or radio guy, but they just,
Welcome to the club.
they change, year to year. So the biggest part that we started, again, this goes back to when we went back to go over a 10-year period to try to replace, at the time it was 6 mobiles a year and 3 portables. I mean, they're not cheap. They're roughly, the mobiles are approximately $4,000 each. So even if we cut that down to what I tried to do was with the 3 new cars, maybe have 3 new mobiles instead of the 6, would put us at roughly 12,000. And then the portable radios are roughly 3,300. So, maybe we go to 4 of them would be 13.2, which would get us to 25.2 plus batteries, gets us to that
Are
amount.
we buying the right batteries?
We are, they,
And just talking to employees, they say that we seem to go through a lot of them batteries. Being over at the fire department, I was checking out their battery station in Patello's office.
Mhm.
It's got that Motorola, it seems like they're using Motorola batteries.
We do.
They have that system that keeps them all charged. It was a
Correct.
pretty cool thing, and so and they can tell when a battery's bad or
Yep.
whatever.
We have the
There's no
same.
leasing on these, right? We have to
I'm
buy
sorry?
them outright,
Correct.
no company leases them?
Correct.
No.
So basically, we have the same system. Major Knott does a very nice job with it. He has they call it a conditioner, so we'll get our batteries from our officers, and we'll take them at certain parts of time. They'll drain them out and then recharge them so they stay conditioned to be at the proper level.
Batteries have memories.
So we always have, like, I mean, as good as the system is, I mean, the batteries go. Each officer has at least 2 batteries, so in case one does go, they can charge one while they're using the other and what have you. But we've been recently going through the issue with our console again that's been acting up. And
So are you without radios right now?
no, we're okay. We're trying to, so what we basically we've been trying to buy roughly, this year we're gonna ask for 3 new car mobile radios. So when we get a new car, we put a new radio in it. The other ones will go to one of the detective units. And they just get, again, wear and tear, usage, parts break, what have you. Some of our older radios that we still have, and that's why we went to the system, Motorola stopped making the parts for them. So we're trying to replace them with the radios that now they have parts for. We've been fortunate because we've had enough of them where they've been able to take parts from one to fix the other. But as far as, no, we do have radios. We're trying to, some officers have older, some have newer.
Making it work, basically.
Correct. Instead of buying 50, we have 52 employees, instead of buying 52 radios, we tried to do it over a period of buying, 4 a year, 3 a year here, 5 a year, to get in a 10-year plan, everyone a new radio.
Okay.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Let's go to fire capital. What's your wish list here, chief?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, where you want to start first?
You got a pickup
Seeing that
truck?
seeing that you were talking about radios, in our plan, and just as the colonel has said that our radios that we have now are already obsolete. Can't replace them. They don't make them anymore. And if you look, I'm putting in for $26,500. The first 4, that's for the battalion chiefs, and that's a dual band, what they call a dual band radio, which is 2 radios in one.
How much a piece, chief?
About $6,600. 60.
Divide by 4, you got
Yeah.
4 battalions.
Why they more than the police?
Because they're 2 radios in one. There'll also be 800 radios, so we can have interoperability with our other communities. When we go mutual aid to Coventry, Warwick, East Greenwich,
They can log into their system.
we can be on the same band as them. We have not changed our whole system over to 800 megahertz, which is quite a bit of money to do.
What's the pickup truck?
The pickup truck is going to be for dual purpose. I talked with the manager that we can have a truck here for the maintenance workers to use here. We'll hopefully can get a plow on it that they can use for the lots here. They need a pickup truck.
We got rid of a pickup truck.
That it wasn't a usable truck. It was that one of those 350s, extra cab, poor steering radius. We can also use this pickup truck for our pods. Lieutenant Seelabrandt, the head of the pods for immunizations, our 2 trailers that we've got grant money from the state. So it'll be a dual purpose here at the town.
I know we use, what do we use now here? What is, I'm gonna say, Jimmy Dunn uses, what does he use?
He's got to use the 1996 F350.
He looks good in that. I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, how often does he need a truck to go to Home Depot? What does he do,
Surplus, we can get surplus.
Fire might
trucks
be
if
different,
we
but
need to.
all kidding aside,
This would be a used vehicle,
if it's a
by the
safe
way.
vehicle, I don't care, personally,
I agree.
he can go get a Fiat and drive to Home Depot and get the parts he needs to put a hanger on the wall, or get some cleaning supplies. What does he get at Home Depot or whatever that he needs a pickup truck? Just wondering.
Well, certain things, like when he gets bags of stuff,
Bags fit in trunks.
and
All the ice melt
he
and
gets those ceiling tiles, he gets all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
It's, so.
I'm just,
But
my thing
but
is, I
that
don't think
pickup
we
truck
need a
is-
brand new truck for a
But that
guy
pickup
with a
truck
Home
is
Depot.
fine. That pickup truck is fine for him, and that's why. And he was saying it wasn't worth the thing, and I went back to Dave like 3 or 4 times and said, "Is this truck fine?" He's like, "Yes, it is. We did an overhaul on it, and it's fine." So
if
I don't
it's
have an
safe-
issue with that truck for the
I was gonna say, if
for the
it's safe
custodians.
and operable, I mean, we need to, you know, we can't just take these trucks and say we're gonna buy a new vehicle just because the
I
guy
agree.
doesn't like to drive that
Yeah.
truck. I mean,
We're not doing that.
okay.
I made sure that that's the truck he uses.
Now,
The
Chief,
one
you
that's out
said,
there.
you said the pickup trucks for what?
It could be used to pull our pod trailers,
Pod trailers?
our boats, whatever we need to
Do
tow
we have a
with.
boat?
We have 2.
We're not going deep sea fishing, are we?
No, we're not, Councilman.
No, we're not going.
What kind of boat we have?
We have
a
those,
Zodiac or something?
Well, they're
So that,
they're
number
bigger than
light,
the Zodiacs.
We don't need a truck to pull it.
Well, it's a lot easier to pull it with a pickup truck than a fire engine.
Ball and hitch on a car.
No, but, an SUV.
We do have one
Is it an
SUV right
SUV
now.
with a ball hitch?
Yes.
Boom. I mean, I want a brand new car too. I want a
Well,
Lamborghini, but guess what?
this will be a
I'm
used
driving a
vehicle.
2004 Caddy.
This would be a used vehicle. I put $20,000. It may not even be that much. At first I thought we were going to use it together, but it looks like I'm on my own on this, so.
Well, I told you when Dave checked that one out, that was good. But
I didn't get that memo.
No, and trust me, if there's a use for it, I don't mind it. And that's why I'm asking you what the use is. But because a guy doesn't like the way he drives, I'm not gonna sit here and approve a $20,000 vehicle. That's, you know.
The vehicle was gonna be split, okay? And they were gonna get a 4-wheel drive with a plow on it. That way I don't have to take a truck off the road to come and plow this parking lot every time there's in the middle of a snowstorm. So Jim or Mario were gonna be able to have access to that truck for plowing purposes. But they were gonna use the old 96 for their everyday travel back.
So why can't they put a plow on that? We get 4 or 5 snowstorms.
We had to take the plow off the truck because the frame was cracked and we had to weld it back together.
Well, you fish plate it and it's as good as new.
No, it's beyond fish plate. It's been fish plated like 8 times already. The truck cannot plow. You put a plow on that truck, you're gonna destroy it.
It's a 350 and you can't plow.
The frame is destroyed on the thing. It's where we fixed it. You put a plow on it and it turns
Dave,
into junk.
I fixed pickup trucks where the frames
You
were
don't.
snapped in
And I'm the one
half.
that has to sign the inspection stickers.
And why
I'm not
wouldn't it
putting
pass
my name-
inspection? It'd be stronger than a regular chassis.
No, it won't, because it's already been patched.
I'll tell you what, I'll get a certified welder over there to say that if they fish plate that, it'd be stronger than a regular chassis. I'm not arguing, I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you, you're talking a structural part of the truck. I'm not signing an inspection sticker on it if you do that.
Well, then you bring it to the state and let them do it.
You're not gonna do it.
Of course they would.
Angela, I've been inspecting cars for over 20 years.
I've been doing it for 40.
All right,
I'm
guys.
still a certified inspector, Dave. I know what's going on too. I'm not trying to say who knows what better. I'm just saying.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
No, I'm not gonna argue either. I think it's senseless to buy a truck when we're in the hole the way we're in right now.
So that is also a plow truck for this parking lot, which,
That was
the intention.
the intention. If we had the money this year, we were looking into it before the winter of this particular fiscal year, but it didn't.
All right, any questions for the chief? Thank you, chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now that Dave's all fired up. Parks and Rec,
Just have our opinions.
there's nothing on Parks and Rec, so.
I got a question because I was talking to Mr. Duffy over the weekend. He was talking to me about irrigation in the budget. Where'd that go?
What?
Irrigation. It's not in the budget, but he was talking to me about irrigation over the weekend.
The Parks and Recs capital, I don't think we ended up going over it, did we? Because you went over.
Is that putting in the system?
and we never-
I sent
No,
out the schedule. and
fixing
Yeah.
the system and upgrading
And
the
I,
system.
we didn't get back to you in
because
time.
it's inadequate for
But
my copy.
he wants to irrigate the girls softball field. What do you say the price was you got roughly?
7,000.
It was a little more than that.
It was for all three. It was a combo. It was for Ray Silva on a
Yeah, but it was like $7,000 a field.
And,
$7,000 a field?
Yeah.
No, $7,000 altogether.
You can't do it for $7,000 all 3 fields.
He told me, if I do remember, he said, he told me somewhere around $7,000, but I don't know for how. He threw McCarthy and the girls softball field in. I don't know, did that include Rayner Field? I mean, we gotta look at the expense. We did Ray Silva last year.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not here, but I know he
Yeah,
called
but
me.
Kenny's guys did all the
Kenny
work.
did it, yeah.
And
Two girls field and McCarthy.
so again, I mean, we wanna take a look at that and see what that is. I know it's not in the budget, that's why I was looking at that. One thing he brought up to my attention was, I know by buying, instead of they had a hand broadcast spreader, we got one for him that actually,
Goes on the back of the tractor.
the back of the tractor. He's cut fertilizer down by 50%, and you know, he says if the fields are sprinkled better, or especially the girls' field or whatever, the grass will obviously grow. They can fertilize better, and they don't have to sit out there with a hose and try to keep it from dying and whatever else, where they're automatic. So, you know, that was one of the things that he brought to my attention.
Well, right now he's got the sprinklers out there where he goes out and puts the nozzles
Yeah, he
in.
puts,
and
but that's
they water the grass.
man hours,
you know what I mean?
time, labor. The
But it's
guy
not,
setting
it's
up a
not like the
hose,
fields
pulling
don't
out.
have water,
Right.
you know? They do
No,
have water, so.
Yeah, I
It
understand.
would be better to have them all irrigated, sure, but
Yeah. I just saw it in there. I know he called me on it. I didn't see it in there. I'm not adding it right now, but if it's something we wanna look at for Parks and Rec, that's the only thing they've asked for this year.
well, he asked for another John Deere tractor, but I told him he's not gonna get that.
Stop it. He'll be pushing a lawnmower before you know it. All right, Public Works, stay around. You got a 5 to 7 yard dump. Is that one dump?
One dump, yep. The, right now, we got 3 of the 96s that are, one of the chassis is pretty much trash on it. I'd like to replace it. We only use it in the wintertime, but if I got a new one, I'd put it in the rotation and take another one off so we could save it for another couple of years. But this one's pretty tough. You guys rode in them. Jay rode in one, John rode in one.
Street sweeper.
That's, we already got the street sweeper, but that 41,000 is the payment for this year.
So that's just the.
It's 41 over 5 years right now. And then I put in for one of those copiers, so maybe we can make 600,000.
Get 2 of them.
I had a copier
What's
in.
the utility truck?
I had a copier in back in 14, but the town hall got a new copier, so I inherited the town hall copier. And I've had the guy down there the last 6 months, like every month, fixing the thing. I mean, I need a copier. You know, the fax doesn't work anymore, and nothing. It's just, it's on its last
I
leg.
just bought a Canon for $199.
Yeah, a little tiny one.
No, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
38 sheets per
Well,
minute.
this is through the
If we went through 10 of those for a
MPA
year,
and
we
with
would.
the contract and the upgrades and all that crap that goes with it for like 5-10 years, whatever it is. So, yeah, and then we got a what do we got on a utility truck to replace the '87 military surplus truck that we got that the Mason uses every day. The truck we built from the pickup truck that we got in that container from the sewer department years ago. 21 years ago, we got that container out of Germany. Had that '87 pickup truck in it. Sewer department had it, and then we took the bed off and put a utility body on it. Then they ran it around for 10 years, and then I inherited it. Now it's got like 300,000 on it. It's got a diesel. It's on its 4th transmission. Needs another one. I'd like to replace that truck. And then
What are we using for vehicles? What kind of vehicles we're talking?
for this
Make or models.
Ford F-350s, 450s. We buy them through that Plymouth County Commission up there where we get the MPAs through Massachusetts and on it.
We have none of the dealers here in West Warwick that we could utilize?
We go to them,
Yeah,
we
so-
try to get prices for them. Remember last time we bought the trucks, Angela wanted me to get prices?
Yeah, they would
The
like,
guys up there beat them
Well, I
by
know for instance,
$15,000.
police has been
They want
kind to us
15.
for donating some vehicles or
Yeah.
selling them as at a.
I said that too,
discount
go to
rate.
town, but they wanted 15,
I'm not talking about your
20,000
trucks,
more.
I'm talking about maybe that DPW truck, the split truck with the plow. Maybe we can get a good deal on something used. I know I'll be
Well,
honest
that's what
with
we were
you.
gonna look at, was a used one.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I know Belize took my Dodge, they sent it over to Rossi's, put a whole new exhaust system on it. They're actually doing a body, it's gonna be on their, lot within the next, 'cause it's only got 50,000 miles on it.
Come on, you doubled the value of that thing, putting a bumper on it.
I know. Went through two in 10 years.
They come
No.
around it.
No, that other truck wasn't gonna be new. That other truck was gonna be a used one.
That's what I'm
that split
saying,
truck.
keep an eye out for the
Yeah.
old Dodge, it could be out there. It's all done up, it's got 50,000 miles on it.
All right, the only other thing I got on there is a used asphalt roller that Freddie wants, and he wants a drainage camera. He says if you don't give it to him, he's gonna flip out on you.
Now, let me, Freddie, with that,
So,
Dave, with that drainage camera, why can't we use the camera that we have with the sewer plant? We got half
There's
$1
a,
million
there's a little
truck.
problem with that, because
Why?
every time I call to ask somebody to come up and camera a line with us or something, they always have an excuse.
No, well,
They
that
always
shouldn't
have an-
be.
They always have an excuse why
Fred,
they can't use the
They
fact that.
said, they tell us a different story. Anytime you guys wanted that truck, it was available. Now, it doesn't make sense where we bought a Vector truck or a camera truck for 250 grand, and we gotta buy another one because we can't use that one. We very seldom use that camera unless there's a leak.
Fred, what happens when we call down
Well,
there
we're gonna
and
put,
ask?
we're gonna put a change to that right at the next sewer commission meeting.
Well, let me ask you a
That would be
question.
fine.
You're saying they're busy, is it because they have to come drive it up here and stay in the truck?
Well, first of all, they won't
don't
let us
matter.
use it ourselves. Okay, our guys could be trained on it, and we could go down and borrow it.
Well,
if
you
we
should
had
be
to.
trained.
I understand that, but that's not how it works.
Fred, we're gonna
Joe,
put
you're
that,
the- you're the sewer
no, we're
commissioner,
gonna put
so-
that on the agenda. That's, forget that. You're gonna get the one from the sewer plant. I'll tell you that right now. There's
That's
no
fine.
sense in buying two when we already have one to put to use.
I need the plow truck and I need the utility truck more than anything in the copier.
What's
I'm
the
not so
roller?
concerned about the roller and well, the roller I'd like to have when we're doing the asphalt work, so I wouldn't have to use the little 24-inch tamper all the time, the vibrator. If I could get a used roller somewhere, which we had one located for around 15, I think I can locate another. It'd be nice to be able to roll them.
So what are your top two, Dave?
Because I rent it now as I need it.
Top
Now,
two
where's
is
the
5 to
military
7 yard
rollers
dump
on
and
them? They got a brand
What was
new.
that name?
Do we still get the
Dump-
bids from the
dump and
military?
utility.
Why not?
Because they changed that whole system around now. It all goes out of Virginia.
I know, I used to get the bids. I don't get them anymore, really.
And they got 'em. It's different now. They changed it. You don't get anything anymore.
That's $4,000.
What?
All right. I'll agree to the asphalt roller if they actually fix the pothole right. In other words, cut it out in a square.
It'll pay for itself because
Yeah.
if instead of running back every time it rains and keep filling the hole, you're gonna fix it
The
once.
thing is, you have to go out there and you have to put the coal patch in when the weather's like this. Once the weather clears up, now you go back and cut it out,
But
replace it.
what happened to
does have a
that,
hot
what happened to that
Huh?
repair, pothole repair, whatever it was? That
That's the
you
state
could do it in the winter time and.
We
The
just-
state's been using that
rain-
still. They
We
have
just
one
had the
around.
guy come in last Wednesday for a demo. We did 2 potholes up at Maisie Quinn School where it's all, the stuff was horrible. It doesn't come out smooth, it leaves aggregate all over the place. It's all lumpy and
But
bumpy.
that's one company, how about the other one?
This is the better guy. The state is using the guy that uses 3/4 inch aggregate. This guy was up here with 1/4 to 1/2 inch aggregate.
Oh, that's junk.
Yeah, I know, but that's what they use. It's not good. I'd rather put the coal patch in and be able to go back and cut it. But the problem is, if I go back and cut it, now I gotta go back and cut it, and I gotta get the hot patch put in, I gotta sit there with a 24-inch compactor to pack this stuff down. If I had a roller, we could do a
Yeah,
better
no,
job.
I agree. Anything,
No,
if you're gonna fix it right,
As long
it's
as it's
gonna
fixed
save
right.
money.
The last thing I wanna see is a guy in the middle of July taking off the back of the truck, drive over it 4 times,
Right.
get tires and take off. And that's happened.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
how, that's how they fill them all.
It's only certain individuals, I know. But again, I'm all for the roller if it's gonna be utilized properly. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Dave
Good.
or Freddie?
Like I said, I need the 2 trucks.
Can I ask a question?
2 trucks and a roller. If I have to nurse the copier
Where's
another
the
year, I'll
Ventrax?
do that too. The
You
what?
didn't put the Ventrax on here.
Ventrax?
My,
No, that thing was ridiculously priced. It was like 50 grand by the time that was done.
I might want that over a truck.
I don't. You're gonna get more for your money out of the truck than you are that thing.
Well,
It was
I'll
a
tell-
nice unit,
I
believe
will
me,
tell you this.
but it's expensive.
I will tell you this. I met with an individual last Friday. I think John was in the room, and I complimented him on his sidewalks in Vermont.
Yep.
Maine, I'm sorry, Maine. And, a lot of parents were up in Maine for the basketball tournament last week, 2 weeks ago. And they were saying how nice the sidewalks were, and they sent pictures to me joking around, including my wife. And they do the same thing. They clean the sidewalks within the walking radius of the schools.
And the downtown.
And the downtown. And they use a very similar system to that. And, you know, that's something we need to really start looking into, because we are forcing kids to walk to school 1 mile.
Well, the other thing we need
from
to
the
do is
school.
reenact the snow maintenance
Reenacting
ordinance
is one
and getting
thing.
these people to shovel
Okay,
the
but
sidewalks.
you're talking 1 mile from the school. There's a lot of town stuff.
You know,
You can't make somebody plow a bridge that's not theirs. You know, they're
I'm
gonna
not
come out
saying the
there and
bridge,
put-
but I mean, the Factory Street over here, we end up doing all of Factory Street.
But
Well, the
again,
school
Well, it's a
is
catch
those
20.
people that are
It's
supposed
a
to be
catch
doing
22.
that.
I understand people shovel and the plows put it back on the sidewalk.
Exactly.
And I don't blame you for it, because the snow's got to go somewhere, but it's a catch 22. Like, what are you going to do? If the
Yeah.
plow does it, and somebody, especially when it freezes like this last storm,
You
again,
can't
there's a
move
lot.
it. You can't move it.
You know,
So
and it's
it-
not your fault because you got to plow the streets, but it's like, how can we find them for that?
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And you know what? When they go by, all that slush and that wet snow, the powder's nothing. You blow it with a snow blower, with a weed blower, whatever it is, lead blower.
What?
But when they come by and they put that just in front of your driveway, you can't move it. It's 2 feet.
What I'm saying is, I'm not worried about that going back and forth, but
Schools in
they,
downtown.
they've managed to find a way to clean their sidewalks within the walking radius of the school, walking rules. So
Yeah.
right now, every child who lives a mile away, up to a mile away, depending on their age,
Bus stops.
they walk to these schools. Well,
You know what?
without our sidewalks, and I saw it right here in front of Town Hall, across the street, where the sidewalks weren't clear, and Rite Aid didn't clear theirs. But again, if we, as a town, went up and down Arctic,
Then-
up and down Main, up and down Factory, that would also be a plus for the businesses.
They
If you
have-
get
for our
that-
Especially if you
downtown
want to
area.
build, this downtown, you want people to come to the Arctic
If you
Playhouse.
get that
who's gonna come there
Ventrax
for
How
thing
much was the
with
lesser unit?
with the-
Wasn't there like
they
a
also
lesser one
have
you
a
showed us,
Bobcat.
like
You need
35?
to get the one. You need to get the bigger one because you want to use the snow blower attachment with the chute, so you can blow the snow into the back of a dump truck.
Do we still have a
But
Bobcat?
don't forget now, that means now I gotta take at least 2 trucks off the road from plowing. After we're all done plowing, I gotta put 2 trucks and operators that have been out all night now into to the other things to go do the sidewalks. I only got X amount of guys down at the DPW, and all my guys are utilized in vehicles on the road.
Do we still have the Bobcat? Do we still have a Bobcat?
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with the attachment like New York uses? They put it on the Bobcat. You can buy 100 attachments for that.
I'm not sure if a Bobcat can-
But ours is a
What
130.
about,
It's not
how
big
many
enough.
storms
They
do we
use
get
in
a
New
year?
York
How many
City.
storms do we get a year? How much does it cost to hire
Say
a
5 or
private
6, that's right.
just for that?
Sub it out.
I was just gonna say.
Could do that too.
Contract it,
Sub it out.
contract it.
I mean, how many big storms do we get a year? Maybe 5. I mean, we got that huge 2 years ago, which was crazy. That's
Well,
an anomaly.
we actually cleaned the sidewalks, what, 4 times this year?
So rather than, I mean, what would be the cost difference between just, hiring out somebody as opposed to buying?
We'll have to look. Get a route where you want them plowed, and sub it out.
Somebody'd have to have the equipment and stuff like that.
I'm sure somebody would buy it if we subbed them.
And I'm sure once somebody hears subbing it out, I'm guaranteeing that somebody's willing to be able to do it too.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not that they're not willing to do it, it's just that we have a storm that goes 24 hours, 36 hours.
No, I
Those guys are on the road,
course.
and now, okay, guys, we gotta do the
No, of
sidewalks.
course, and that makes
You
sense.
know what I mean?
Maybe,
And
and I'm not telling you how to run your department, but maybe you keep 2 or 3 guys for sidewalks, so
Just
guess
sidewalk.
what? You come out at the end of the storm, or you're in charge of the storm,
Right, don't come in.
and that's your duties,
you
is the
can't,
sidewalk. I don't know how,
because contractually, if it's overtime, you have to bring them in rotation.
Well, then, you
Right.
don't
I'm not
make
saying
it
can't
overtime,
say-
you stagger it.
Do it regular
No,
time.
I'm saying you
Regular
can't,
time, yeah.
the way, you can't plan on when the storm's gonna fall. I mean, we got lucky this year, some of them fell on some
Dave,
straight
if
time.
it
and some
snowed,
on
if it
some other.
snowed and the snow ended at 2 AM, you still bring that guy in at 7 and say, start clearing the sidewalks. You're not bringing him in on overtime.
But it's
If the
not,
storm
it's not
ended
that you're
at 3
bringing him
PM,
in,
you
he's
still bring him
already
in at 7
there
AM and
because he's
start
been
working on
working all
sidewalks.
night. The guy's already there
No,
because
no,
he's
we're
been
not
working
talking
all
about that. In other words, you get a snowstorm tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, you get 2 guys, designate them sidewalks. This is your job for today.
Okay, so
You're
that
not
means
going
2
in-
trucks don't go on the road because they're gonna do sidewalks.
Well, then, it's only gonna be for a day or 2.
Yeah, but
Then
then
you go back.
But then the town is all divided up into routes. So then John calls me up and says, how come you didn't do this section of Ward 5? Well, I got the guy doing sidewalks. Jay
How-
says,
how-
how
no,
come
no,
my
no.
section didn't get done? Well, the guy's doing
Well,
sidewalks.
first of all,
How long
many
would it
trucks
take
do
to
we
do
have?
sidewalks? Like,
How
just
many
to get an
plow
idea,
trucks?
how long would it take to do the sidewalks from factory?
Well, now
in,
you're
say,
talking
this area?
adding a mile around all the schools.
How many trucks do you have that plow?
We got 13 trucks.
13 trucks, how many employees do you have?
Drivers, it's got 6.
Plow drivers, that will plow drive.
Well, I could fill the 13 trucks if everybody comes in.
And we usually have one spare guy.
Yeah, and that's it. And if the guy wants to come in and go to the bathroom, he jumps in the truck. If the guy's gonna take a break and eat
So
something, the other guy jumps in the truck.
How many
you know?
employees do you have?
Total? 29.
You have 29
Yep.
employees.
Fred?
13, no,
Fred.
skip the department heads.
All right, 28.
28,
4
You have-
mechanics.
4 mechanics.
Foreman,
What does he do when it snows?
he's out half the town watching the guys. And then I upgrade another guy to another foreman to take the other half of the town. So that's a double foreman during a storm. Did I give you the 4 mechanics? Yep.
An operator.
You got an operator. Sometimes we have 2 operators because if I can get an extra guy to upgrade to an operator, I'll put him in the backhoe and have him start cleaning the sidewalks with the backhoe. Right?
So you're down to 23 employees.
Dispatch?
Yep. You got
Include
6
dispatch?
6 full-time drivers. You got 1 mason. What's the other dedicated one?
What does the mason do, what does the mason do when there's snow? When he's not doing
In the
masonry
winter time,
work?
when he's not doing mason work, he's doing building maintenance. Inside the building, you know, whatever we gotta do, building maintenance.
We only got 1 mason.
1 mason, yeah. And then, how many does that come up to?
Right now, you're at 6 drivers, 4 mechanics,
It's 10,
2 foremen,
12,
an operator,
13,
and a mason.
14, and the secretary. 15,
Secretary doesn't plow.
no.
We have one.
14 left.
One labor that is on CDL.
Yeah, and then the rest of laborers, and 1 is grandfathered in without a CDL.
So you have your 13, 14 remaining. So what you're saying is the foremen don't plow, they just watch what people are doing.
Well, they have to go out and they're the guys that are watching our crews, and they're watching the private crews that are out there.
Okay.
So like, we split the town in half.
Operator
and
is the
each
guy who runs the backhoe, fills the trucks, does
Yeah.
whatever.
loader, all that stuff.
So out of your 14 remaining and 6 drivers, full-time drivers, that's still 20 people. So out of that 20 people, you only have 13 trucks going. These
That's
guys
all.
might not come in, I understand
Yeah,
that.
that's all my trucks.
Mhm.
So those guys that are remaining don't have a vehicle to get to the
So what I'm
job.
saying is you
They
have
don't
20
have
guys
any way to
remaining, you got
transport.
13 trucks. So you got 7
It's
guys
20
remaining.
guys remaining.
No,
There's not 20 guys remaining.
Well, the way you
Something's
just
wrong.
said, you got 4 mechanics, 1 foreman that you promote,
Yeah.
1 operator,
6.
6 drivers, 1 mason. That's only,
Well, 6
14.
drivers, yeah, 6 drivers, but the other guys are gonna, there's 7 more drivers on
There's
top of
only
that.
7 laborers, so there's 13.
Yeah, there's
people.
13 altogether. There's 6 full-time drivers and 7 laborers. That's 13 people that drive the trucks, plus the other guys that are out there.
I don't know, he's losing me.
who's on first?
Yeah, who's on second?
That's,
So you got
Plenty simple,
6
huh?
full-time drivers.
yep,
All right,
and
skip
13 trucks.
drive, I don't care about their titles,
Okay,
okay? Anybody who can drive a goddamn plow truck,
13.
how many
13.
13,
out of your 28
14
employees?
actually, right?
29.
1 extra. 14, 1 extra.
16 left.
So out of the 14 that can drive a plow truck, the other, skip the 2 foremen, that's down to 26. The 4 mechanics is 22.
14, 16,
You can use your toes too, we don't count.
20, 20, right? Who's missing? Somebody's missing. Oh, what, 21? And Paulie's 22. That's it. That's all there is. There isn't anybody else. Because I got,
What I'm saying is, you're telling me there's nobody else to drive a plow truck
Two
down
on-
there, or who can drive a tractor around West Warwick?
2 on comp.
The tractor, he's,
I don't need a plow driver, so what I'm saying to you
Because
is you're telling me
contractually,
you
I
got
can't-
4,
What he wants to know is there somebody
you
that
got
can
14,
drive that that's not one of
here's
the
what I
14?
got an issue with.
Who drives
You
a
got-
lawnmower? He can drive a tractor.
Here's what I got an issue with, Dave. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, based upon your numbers here, you basically have 20 people 13, 14 are drivers, you still have 6 remaining people that do something else. I don't know what they do.
Yep.
Okay? Out of those 6 remaining people, you're telling me you can't get them to drive a tractor around town because they're not plow operators?
No,
Because I can get my 18-year-old up here to plow drive.
Contractually, it's an upgrade to drive a piece of equipment.
A tractor is not
It's a
an
piece of,
upgrade.
it's a piece of equipment.
Well,
and
I'll
it's
tell you
an
what, to
upgrade.
avoid all that, I'm
So
willing to give
in order-
everybody the driver's salary so we can make everybody a driver.
But they won't want the driver's salary, they'll want the operator's salary.
Well, then you sub it out, and then look at the plow and do you
It's
sub that out too?
contractual, believe me, we go through this every
But
day.
I don't get that.
Me
To
either.
me,
You got a job to do, you ride a
driving a
tractor.
truck, that's a driver.
Yep.
Driving a tractor,
And when I have to take a,
that's not a driver. I can get a 13-year-old to drive a tractor around West Warwick. So that's what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
here.
all
is
these
You're
agreements
telling
in
me out of
that
the 6
contract.
remaining people, we can't get
all
sidewalks.
these
cleared.
agreements in that contract have all been agreed upon over the years with different managers
Well,
and
then,
different.
I agree with the
different
council then. Sub it out.
Negotiations and stuff like that.
Let's
Sub
sub
it
it
out.
out,
We have
and then
to
we'll talk
follow.
about it in the contract negotiation.
That's right.
That's all we can do at this point.
It's up to you.
You save 50 grand right off the bat. What are they gonna charge you to clean sidewalks? 4 or 5 grand?
I mean,
You got 10
personally,
storms.
It's more than that. Do you remember when we had to come in and do the sidewalks over here and I had to bring in the extra help?
Yeah, because you had a
I'll
blizzard.
tell you what,
Blizzard, it was
You had a blizzard.
I'm gonna start a sidewalk cleaning business.
No
Because
shit.
if I
I'm
can-
gonna buy the tractor and put my niece, my 14-year-old niece, and Rachel can be a shotgun.
Freddie makes a good
And
point.
I'll let them put
Freddie
it
makes a
in.
good point, a mile between every school or just the high
Huh?
school?
Is it just the high school or is it all 4 schools?
You gotta do, you
No, a
gotta
mile,
do
you said a mile,
schools.
so a
It's a
mile from.
mile for, walk for each school, right?
He said a mile from each school, right?
I don't know if
There's
that's the
5
same for the,
schools.
I don't know if that's the same for the elementary schools, I don't know if it's the mile.
It's a half mile there.
Yeah, okay.
Well, still, that's all of Wakefield Street. Up and down both sides.
You have nobody walking to school on Wakefield Street.
But if you're gonna say you're gonna clean the sidewalks,
You're gonna
what
see
I'm-
where the kids are walking.
Dave, so we don't blow this out of
I never seen a
proportion.
kid walk on Wakefield Street in the 20 years I lived there.
So we don't blow
and,
out,
and the first time you don't shovel it, somebody's gonna wanna walk on it.
okay,
guaranteed.
so I don't blow this out of proportion. What I'm looking for is downtown to be cleaned. You know, I get
60
no,
grand, get the machine.
we're using snow blowers up and down the street.
Yep.
We're looking at an opportunity to avoid injuries, make things easier, driving a tractor. What you're telling me is, if I give a guy a tractor or a snow blower, it's 2 different qualifications?
I don't believe that.
Sub it out, that's easy.
I mean, you're only talking.
that's in the
You're only
contract.
talking like, what is it? How much between the two, $1.50?
What happened to the schools that were taking care of it, Fred?
It takes $3.
$3.
What happened to the
$3 an
schools?
hour.
I've
They
done
were
talking about the Ventrax.
helping us the first year or so. I don't know
Yeah,
what
no,
happened.
then it ended.
Yeah.
That's the school problem.
The school, why the school isn't helping out.
The
anymore.
school's supposed to be doing
They
school.
don't do.
Kenny helps
They
us
did initially.
between the high school parking lot
Right.
down to the end of the parking lot. But we have to do in front of the Civic Center because we own it and we have to maintain that from.
They don't
from
go down the
top
hill at
of,
all?
New London Avenue, down to where he
Yeah,
ends
but-
up. And then we have to pick up where he ends up, and then we do down, Factory Street to the youth center.
How many plows does the school
Which
department
we
have?
do we take care of the youth
So,
center, but
I
everybody
got a
else
question
too.
for you. So, at the Civic Center, it's snowing.
Yep.
We're probably closed or whatever. Are any of them employees assisting in clearing those sidewalks?
No, because they only work in the building. Duffy has to take care of the outside. They'll come in the morning and shovel the sidewalks off, but Duffy
Yeah.
has to maintain all the
The,
parking
the,
lot.
the parking
and
lot,
all
but the
that.
sidewalks, who's clearing the sidewalks?
They do that in the morning.
Not on the road, on the road we do.
No, I
Yeah,
but,
they do that. Dougie
all right.
and,
In front of the buildings.
just
they
wanna
do.
make sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they'll do that.
You know, you just
But
said
we
you gotta
gotta
clear the
maintain-
sidewalks in front of the.
No, but sometimes, like that last one, we got so heavy and it was starting to freeze, I ended up having to take 2 trucks and send it up there with Duffy so we could get it moved before it froze.
So,
Every storm is different.
forgive my
you know?
ignorance,
understand.
when we're shoveling these areas, I assume you're using a pretty powerful snow blower,
Yeah.
right, that
It's
someone's
just
pushing. I
Yeah.
mean, is
Snow
there an
blower.
up,
It's a
is there
heavy-duty
an
snow
upgrade
blower.
from that? That's like, is it self-propelled? Is
Yeah.
it?
It don't work.
Yeah, so.
It's not.
You get that
But
slushy
that
stuff
stuff,
like
that
last
stuff
time, you
last
can't
time,
move
And
it.
so you
You
have
couldn't
to have,
touch
if
that.
you
You
went
can't
with
touch
like, if you went with the Ventrex and you went with a lesser model that you don't have the truck assist, you can't just blow it somewhere?
Where?
I don't know.
You can't blow
I
it
don't
up
know.
against
Not
the
into the
building.
street,
You
obviously,
can't
but
blow
maybe
it
the
back
other
into
direction.
parking lot.
It has to
When you're
be
doing this
contained
stuff,
within a
we
truck
have
of
to
some
remove
type.
it, you know what I mean? And that's why when we always did these things, we used all these sidewalks up here, we used the backhoe and the Bobcat, and those
Take
two
you
guys
forever.
work together to get it off the road And then they piled it, and then we had a line of our trucks there, and the loader just kept loading it, loading it, loading it. We come in at 11 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, you gotta quit, because then the traffic starts.
How you doing, John?
So when you're moving the
John,
snow
I think you
with
better
a
overdo
snow
it a little.
blower,
I think you
where
better
does
hit
the
the
snow
road.
go?
Huh?
When you're pushing the snow blower, where is that snow going?
On
I
the
guess we're
sidewalks up
going
here,
till 12
we
o'clock
turn the
again,
chute,
like
blow
old
it in
normal.
people's yards.
We
We
stopped
can't
at
do
that
that with
before.
with
We
a
put a limit.
drivable unit? Just
No.
blow it
No.
in the same direction?
What,
this
what I'm
year,
saying
you
is,
can have it
a lot of
shoveled in the
times,
truck.
We're gonna
again,
talk about
I'm
this
still,
all night.
what I'm a little confused with is, and I'm glad the snow's over. So you got 14 truck drivers, you got 6 other guys who I don't know what they're doing, and they're not able to drive a tractor, but they can run a snow blower, but they have to wait till the end of the storm. They can't run a snow blower during the storm and keep it on top of everything. So they wait till the very end, and then they get in trouble because it's frozen. So I got it
Because
that
I
it's
just
just a
don't, all the
cluster.
vehicles are on the road with sanders in the back, so I can't.
But you got 6 other guys who can go over and
What are they gonna do, put the
snowblow.
snowblower on their back and carry it from the DPW up to Factory Street?
That's what the pickup truck with a trailer is on. I don't know.
The trucks are on the road
Get the
plowing.
SUV with the
I don't have
trailer.
any
I don't
pickup trucks
know.
anymore.
So those 6 aren't in any type of rotation, correct?
Which one?
As far as if 13, 14 drivers.
Yeah, they come in and they'll shovel around the DPW, so I have to send them up here half the time to help these guys out.
So that's
clean-
what those 6.
Clean around here.
That's what those 6 people you're talking about,
Yeah.
I believe. That's what they're doing.
The foreman will pick them up with shovels and he'll take them up here
We're
and they'll
going,
shovel,
past our 9
they'll shovel
o'clock
the
mark
ramps
again.
of the
We're at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I
fire
know.
stations so we can get the plow in to plow them. They'll take them up here, they'll shovel the sidewalks in front
Well,
of them.
yeah, I mean, we're gonna keep
Okay.
talking about the same thing.
All
We'll
right.
see what happens at the
Any
end.
questions for Dave besides? All right, we'll keep it where it is right now.
I think the numbers are wrong. I need that. 'Cause I'm trying to visualize a snowstorm, and we don't have 6 people just hanging around doing nothing.
No, there isn't.
They just said they're out
They
shoveling and.
No, there might be 13, I don't know.
Yeah, one person has a
We
CDL.
got 2 guys on comp that weren't there, so. But other than that,
Yeah, but you still have those positions. What I'm saying
Might
is,
have counted.
we could talk about it later. Have a good night.
Don't go nowhere.
it won't work. Believe me.
Build it.
Dave, don't go nowhere.
Where'd he go? Did he
I
go
wanna
to-
give you
Did he
this.
take a nap?
Come here. Here's the pictures that are pushing the snow into the lady's yard. She's got all the pictures. Here's the guy that's doing it. This is what we go through every day on Fume Street.
And we have to go peek
So,
around.
send him a letter, fine him, whatever you gotta do. You got his name, his address. No, he's plowing out of his apartment houses and throwing them on hers on the sidewalks. And that's where we gotta go up there, and they had to move the loader last time because of that guy.
Take it easy.
So, send him a letter.
Okay. You only live once.
I don't want you to call me and tell me you to pick a kid. It's not the budget.
Don't worry.
It's getting hot in here, it's getting late.
All right.
George, you
Okay.
buying the beers?
George, you got the roof?
This is the Senate.
I
We
will
can
wait
have
to
them
see.
underneath the seat.
I'll be snoring in about an hour, I hope.
Not if we keep you here.
I heard you a few minutes ago.
Marianne, what page are we on?
What are we on?
Oh, the next
You're
page, just
at
the
the
next
next
page, the next
page.
page.
Yeah,
from
it's
where we
It's
were.
called building.
Building department. So you got the roof at 50,000, that's this roof? Okay. You got police officer of day room repairs, what's that mean?
All right, I've got a little rundown over here.
You have a police officer,
Yeah,
police
what-
officer of the day?
That's the officer in charge's office. There was leaking that came down through and went into the officer's in
Oh,
charge
okay.
office. So right after dispatch on your left.
Okay.
Sergeant.
Oh, so it's not a police officer, it's a day room.
The day room. Officer, the day room, is that what you call it, Chief?
Yeah, that officer in charge.
Officer in charge.
The police officer of the day. We didn't know if it was like a new award.
It's a new award.
I give it to myself, Dave.
Dog pound repairs, 25,000.
Any of
Right.
this covered by the insurance, our insurance or anything?
Ooh, I don't think so. There's a lot of wear and tear issues here. That dog pound is badly.
Nothing
beaten
happened
up.
during the storm where it lifted stuff and made damages, no?
It's
This
just a
was all
mess.
pre-storm. That, I went out there myself, did inspections. I took the electrical inspector with me. I took the the mechanical inspector with me to look at everything in general.
Now, George,
That's-
just to give you a heads up, was it Conkin? They were looking at building a new,
We're looking at doing something with
The
them,
Lions.
with the Lions, but also with the neighboring communities. That's going to be 2 to 3 years in terms of a process, if all goes well. So, but in the meantime, this place needs desperate help.
Is it a steel
It doesn't meet code.
It's not a steel roof?
No, it's a regular asphalt roof. There's problems with the roof. There's a lot of problems. Everything seems to be falling apart for lack of maintenance. I have a list of some of the items that we got a list from the electrical inspector, mechanical inspector, what should be done, etc., and items that need to be done also at the pistol range. There's some safety issues there. So we're talking at least 30-something thousand there, probably, maybe more.
Fire Station 1 improvements, what are those?
The major improvements for the fire station are both the rear.
Where's
apron.
this? Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, correct. The rear apron behind the lower garage door, there's a drainage system there, and evidently it's not working. It's pitched the wrong way. And what it's doing is it's pulling water, it's freezing. It's become a real hazard for anybody that walks through that area. We're concerned, you know, a firefighter or even one of the town girls coming into work, or anybody for that matter, slips and falls, we got a serious problem. It's probably pulling as much as probably a 30 square foot area.
One injury could cost us a lot more than $50,000.
And then the front apron. Yeah, so we're talking about removing the drain, cutting out the asphalt, draining the whole system and putting in a new drain, tying it in.
So my daughter must be home watching. She goes, "Tell Angelo, me and Nicole got it under control."
I told ya. That a girl, girls.
All right.
We'll open another LLC. Nobody knows what I got now.
And now the electric
Right, Rosie?
vehicles town fleet. We already know what that is.
Yep.
Any questions for George on this? These are much needed repairs. Thanks, George.
I just have one thing I'd like to add. We had an emergency situation just come up. I had one of the majors got my attention last week. We have the main entry to the PD. The granite slab is heaved because of the weather. We got a serious trip hazard there. So
Don't we have somebody who grinds?
I don't think you're gonna be able to grind this down. It has to be lifted and reset, or lifted and removed and poured concrete.
I'll tell you what, Morgan and Son did this years ago. I can't believe how bad it's.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
gone.
just gassed it
We
up.
got a piece, one of the retaining wall slabs that's on the sidewalk is about ready to collapse. Hopefully it doesn't fall
You
on
know who's good at
anybody.
that stuff? That Andrade.
Andrade and Rich Diaz. The
Yeah,
two of 'em.
two of them.
Rock Dock and
Right in town.
Andrade.
So the front
Get
of the
some
PD
bids.
really needs to be done immediately. It's
And I don't
not
know. I don't know if we can utilize, but I also know, and I'll speak highly for him. Is Kevin Correa does a phenomenal mason work too. Maybe you can reach out and utilize him, even if you got, get some bids or whatever and see what that is. But see what that cost is and see what we can.
Okay.
Again, we have one person fall. We know what that's like.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
George.
you, George. The last thing we have here is information technology.
Where's that?
PC hardware lifecycle program.
It's on the next page. I just wanted to point one thing out. Originally, when that 10-year document was put together, we did actually, there is a requirement by the,
Where are you?
by the charter that document be provided to the planning board. So at the time when it had to be provided to the planning board, which was in February, we had some preliminary numbers, which is why a couple of the departments had some different numbers than what they discussed tonight. Same thing with the IT. You're gonna see on there's a $25,000 amount. However, in the town manager's budget, we put 50, because after that deadline for the planning board, we spoke to RCC, who's now the company who's handling our IT needs, and based on the list of items that they feel need to be replaced, the request really needs to be for 50,000, not the 25. So in the budget document, it says 50, but in that page, on that page right there, you see 25, and I just wanted you to know why there was a difference there. There still is several pieces of equipment that RCC feels needs to be replaced, and work that needs to be done within this building from an IT point of view, whether it's the Wi-Fi, network, or some of the network switches and different things like that. So that's basically what makes up the 50,000, as well as some PCs that need to be replaced, some printers and things of that nature.
Okay. Any questions for John on that? Thank you, John. I think everybody's getting a little tired tonight.
Yeah.
think we beat up Dave and Freddie enough for them to leave.
Even submission.
Okay, so what's next? We have, nothing else really in this budget.
So the hearings are scheduled for next week and
We
the
need to know the
following
growth
week.
by the hearings.
Well, all we're gonna have is an estimate.
An estimate's fine, but we need to know, be conservative on that estimate, but we need to know what the growth is gonna be.
And if I could just mention one thing, typically, and again, it's whatever the council deems, fits the situation, but last year and some of the previous years, by the time we had the first public workshop, we actually had a council budget, at least a preliminary budget. Now, obviously, there's still some decisions to be made on some of the numbers, so it's gonna be a little bit different. I don't think there's any requirement, I don't think there's anything that says it has to be one way or another. As long as we're having a public hearing on the budget, I think we're covered. But
I think we can make, in our public hearings, some changes. If any of the council
Yes.
has
Right,
changes, we
yes.
can make those changes in the public hearing.
Right.
If anybody from the public comes and, let's just say this room storms up with 80 people, but I doubt that very much.
What's the date for the hearing?
It's the same date as the next council meeting, which is the 4th.
Tuesday.
At the council meeting?
So it's what we're doing. We have an executive session scheduled for 6.
Yeah.
We scheduled the public hearing for the budget at 6:45, because generally they're pretty quick, but if it gets prolonged, the council meeting will start whenever that finishes.
And then the second hearing is separate, it's all by itself, correct?
Correct.
There's no- So then, we're gonna rush through this real quick next week, but if there's extensive changes or anybody has anything, please bring it forward. The council can decide at that point as a whole. And then, if another meeting's needed, we can.
Well, I was going to say the other option would be to push off the first one, go with the second one that you have in the books now, because it is on its own,
I'd rather
and
give
you
some
could
time,
deal with
yeah.
that, and then we can schedule a second one for that same week, maybe, and just cover it, because as long as we meet the deadlines.
Yeah, but May 1st is the deadline where there has to be a council, I won't say approved, but a council, I guess approved is the only word I can think of at this
Yeah.
point, even though the voters approve it. But a council budget by the first Monday in May. That is a requirement.
We've got
This way
plenty
in
of
time for the referendum, the all-day referendum.
What's the date of the referendum? The 3rd week of May? is that?
Third, that would be the third
Yeah.
Thursday, which is the 18th.
Yes, 16th is the FTM, and
Right.
the 18th is the.
But it has to be published by that first
16th is
Monday.
the financial.
It also has to be the state and.
Tuesday and then Thursday's the vote.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, all this has to go in, the ballots have to be made,
Right.
all that good stuff.
Do you want us? Do you want
If
to
you have
set
any
Paula?
questions to go on that ballot, this is a good time also.
Yeah, right now the hearings are scheduled, as Fred mentioned, for the 4th, and the second one is scheduled for the 11th, but if there's some type of a different schedule, which is what I think Fred was just gonna mention.
Angela, did you have that individual, I gave somebody a phone number this weekend about that property? Did they call you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if that's something you're moving forward with,
She's changing her mind. She spoke to, she's gonna discuss it with, you work with the husband.
yeah, I've seen them.
Like, yeah, because if they do get that little strip abandoned, if they ever wanna build there, they can't, because then they gotta go through to get the road. So, the way,
All right, well, the reason why I don't wanna go too far.
the way Mark explained it to her, your property value is worth $100,000, you're gonna knock it down to 10.
Yeah, all right,
So it's
so
up to them.
the reason why I was asking, because if the
Yeah.
town's looking to sell that land, we'd have to put it on the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So what we could do is just we can leave
Talk to her.
the schedule right now for the hearing.
so I would change next
for the
week's
4th.
hearing.
You want to change it?
Change that, because we're gonna be busy next week.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the second hearing, will be our first hearing, and then we'll have to go look at a date and we'll figure out
Okay, but
maybe.
the hearings have to be advertised 3 times. That's the only challenge that we
So,
have by law. So
Our next hearing, our second hearing's on that Tuesday.
correct, which has already
So
been advertised
if we
with this
say
first
Thursday,
one. So
would that work for everybody, that following Thursday?
could we get 3 advertisements? Yeah, we should be able to. But
I don't have a
Paul is
problem
out the rest of the
Thursday.
week, right?
Yeah, are you talking about the 11th?
Yeah, because you can advertise
The
it Friday,
13th?
you can advertise it Friday, Paula's in Friday. You can advertise it Friday, Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday, and you'll get 3 advertisements out of it.
So you're looking at the 11th and the 13th for the 2 public hearings?
I think that would be
have a
fair.
public hearing on the 4th?
Yes.
We are? Yes? No, we're not.
So we need to.
Just food for thought.
Okay, but we're not, right?
Just some food for thought. If you wanted to, maybe it would be a good idea to have a mini workshop next week on the 4th, where you guys can at least discuss and maybe
Yeah, I would
share
say
some
only
amounts with
because
us.
we have advertised it. Paul has advertised it now.
right.
So maybe keep it on there and you can have the conversation and just say, we're gonna, maybe it's as quick as saying, look, this is a public hearing. If anyone has any comments, allow people to come up. They said, we're gonna workshop this a little bit more at the next public hearing next week.
And
then-
again, I think the council, in my conversations with individuals, I think everybody's still concerned about the growth number.
Yeah.
And without that growth number, I don't think anybody can make a decision after that.
So 6 o'clock executive session. 6:45,
When?
we're gonna have a small hearing.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
April 4th, our first council.
Oh, you're gonna,
So we're gonna do a 6:45.
you gotta get hold of
Public
us.
hearing.
You gotta
Correct.
remind us on the
But we'll
email,
keep it short so we can roll into the meeting regular time.
Okay.
because we'll forget there's an
Put it in your
executive
ca- put it in your
session.
phone.
I don't do that. I don't do it.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Chief, did you read that?
All right, who wants to go to Bickford's?
Bickford's.
Hojo's.
We used to go there 2 o'clock in the morning.
Bickford's on Jefferson Boulevard was great.
We could go
Yeah.
to
We used to be there 2 in the morning.
go downtown and get
Bigfoot's,
Halloweenies.
the good thing about Bigfoot's was they actually, you could like, if you got there by 11, you could have a couple drinks first. It was connected to that really awful bar where they had karaoke sometimes. And then the Big Shots meetings, there was like the
Friday nights.
bigger people, it was called Big
All the
Shots.
waitresses used to, bye, John, take care of
I
yourself.
can do 2:30, I just might not be able to stay the whole time.
I'll know more tomorrow with the doctors as far as from back, but I'm thinking,
Yeah, I just
we
get
not
over
next
it.
week, probably the following week.